Chapter 1744. Year 006. Shinji exclaimed to Yun Jian in front of everyone. Everyone was stunned at the sight. Yun Jian, who stood in front of Shinji, raised the red arc with a smirk and spoke to Shinji coldly. Do you remember when you lost to me for the 409th time and yelled at me? I'll remember you even if you turn into ashes? 095. I didn't think that you wouldn't recognize me after such a short time. When Yun Jian and Shinji were in Anhun, they'd always referred to each other by their numbers. Because in Anhun, everyone only had a number, not a code name. So when Yun Jian and Shinji met, the words they used the most were their numbers. 095 was Shinji's number back then. Yun Jian had an indescribable feeling towards Shinji. This feeling was different from the hatred she felt towards her enemies, and also different from the protection she felt towards her own people. Or to put it another way, in Yun Jian and Shinji's subconscious, they'd already turned each other from mortal enemies to rivals. In the early years, the children who were caught and sent to an Hun organization were all in a state of killing each other. But later on, only a few of them survived. And there were only 1 or 2 outstanding people. Without a doubt, Yun Jian and Shinji were the most outstanding of their batch of children. In that inhumane world back then, the reason why Yun Jian and Shinji were more outstanding and powerful than the others was because they saw each other as rivals. They wanted nothing more than to surpass each other, or to stand at a position where no one could touch them. If a person could meet a rival, that was without a doubt a very lucky thing. Because when you see someone who's as strong as you as a rival, you'll do your best to climb up. When you reach the highest point, you'll look back and realize that you're already standing at a position where ordinary people can never touch you. Yun Jian and Shinji had been like this back in Anhun, encouraging each other. But neither of them would reveal this relationship. Therefore, even though Yun Jian and Shinji were women, they were able to trample over the so-called stronger men and become one of the 3 people who walked out of Anhun alive. This was why Yun Jian had revealed her identity to Shinji as soon as she saw him. Yun Jian and Shinji's conversation attracted everyone's attention. This was especially true for Xiang Jia and Hu Yiru. Just now, the 2 of them had criticized Yun Jian for being so pretentious. Now their expressions were extremely ugly. Xiang Jia knew that Yun Jian was a guest at Luo Berry's house. Although she knew that Yun Jian was the young madam of Anhun Group, she didn't know what Anhun Group was, and didn't think that Yun Jian was very powerful. Wasn't she just a fence-sitter who relied on men to get to the top? But hearing Yun Jian and Shinji's conversation, Xiang Jia was stunned. She stared at Yun Jian and Shinji and exclaimed, "Do you really know each other? I thought we didn't know each other just now. Didn't Shinji not know Yun Jian just now? How is this possible?" Yun Jian really did know the leader of the Soul Devourer group. Naturally, no one paid any attention to Xiang Jia's exclamation. Shinji didn't see Xiang Jia as a person at all. After acknowledging Yun Jian, Shinji studied Yun Jian from head to toe. Then he clicked his tongue and continued, "You've changed your face, and you're blaming me for not recognizing you. 006. Our grudge will never end in this lifetime." The grudge Shinji was referring to was the oath Shinji had made before that he would defeat Yun Jian one day. "I'll be waiting." Yun Jian's lips curled into a faint smile. Then, she glanced at Shinji indifferently. "What are you going to do by raising a puppet?" Raising a puppet? Yun Jian had just met Shinji, hadn't she? How did she know that Shinji was going to raise a puppet? Was she just making things up? Everyone in the distance was shocked again. They didn't know that Yun Jian had already guessed it. Someone is buying puppets. 1 puppet can be sold for $1,000,000 USD. Shinji walked over to a bench and sat down. He looked at Yun Jian calmly. "You have 50 million USD for every mission. Do you really need that much money?" Yun Jian stood where she was lazily and chatted with Shinji about mundane matters in front of the dumbfounded crowd. Everyone was flabbergasted by what she did, but what made Xiang Jia, Hu Yiru, and the others even more flabbergasted was what Shinji said next. When Shinji heard Yun Jian's words, he immediately stood up from his seat. In front of everyone, he glared at Yun Jian. Chapter 1745. All professional assassins and agents had a price tag when they went on missions. Also, assassins and agents usually made deals through the assassin website. Yun Jian had logged into the assassin website before. Every assassin or agent had their own account on the official assassin website. Usually when they accepted missions, they would do business on this special agent killer website. Yun Jian and Shinji used to be assassins from Anhun. After they debuted, they had their own accounts on the assassin website. Their account names were their code names. The website would also evaluate the starting price of their missions based on their abilities and achievements. When Yun Jian and Shinji were first evaluated on the assassin website, their starting price was the same. But as the number of missions and success rates increased, the difference gradually widened. Now, Yun Jian's starting price for a mission had been raised to 100 million USD, while Shinji's starting price had been raised to 50 million USD. This starting price was the official price given by the website after evaluating an assassin or agent. Shinji wasn't weak. She might not be as strong as Yun Jian, but she was only slightly weaker than Yun Jian. But the official price given by the assassin website for Yun Jian was 2 times higher than Shinji's. This was why Shinji wasn't convinced. Yun Jian and Shinji's conversation was very normal. To Yun Jian and Shinji, their conversation was as normal as eating and sleeping. But in the ears of the surrounding people, they were so scared that their souls almost fell out. When Yun Jian said that Shinji's starting price for a mission was 50 million USD, Xiang Jiai, Hu Yiru, and Mai Chen's jaws almost dropped. What kind of mission is this? 50 million USD. 50 million USD. If converted to RMB, wouldn't that be 300 million? 300 million. As long as Shinji went out on a mission, he would be richer than even Xiang Jiai, who had been pampered since she was young, put all her money together. This series of words had already frightened Xiang Jiai and the others so much that their faces turned pale. But what was worse was that Shinji said that Yun Jian could earn 100 million USD for a mission. That would be 600 million yuan, if converted to RMB. Could it be that Yun Jian was also an assassin or a secret agent? She was actually so rich. Mai Chen and Su Mei were startled by Shinji's revelation of Yun Jian's status. However, Xiang Jiai was shocked. It was purely because she had previously mocked Yun Jian for being a woman who relied on men to get to where she was, and was not worthy of being the young madam of the Anhun organization. But now that she thought about it, Yun Jian's wealth was beyond Xiang Jiai's imagination. Xiang Jiai was really stunned. She stood rooted to the ground, unable to recover from the shock. 100 million USD. If converted to RMB, it would be 600 million. Is this for real? She actually, the last person to shout was Hu Yiru. Hu Yiru's eyes widened. She stared at Shinji and asked the question that terrified her. How is this possible? She was just an ordinary girl who only knew how to put on an act every day. She had no ability at all. That's all she was. Hu Yiru didn't believe it. She stared at Shinji, almost suspecting that Shinji was cooperating with Yun Jian to deceive her. Whether it was Hu Yiru, Xiang Jiai, or Mai Chen, they were all high school students in their teens. Usually, they would gather together and brag about some powerful person they knew. That was already the limit of what they could do. However, Yun Jian was just like them. She was just a teenage girl. How could it be possible that he was such a powerful existence? Everyone present, including Neil, and the people who wanted to team up with Yun Jian to kill Shinji, were all stunned. Shinji sneered. After laughing, she turned to look at Hu Yiru and the others, who had been left hanging for a long time. As if she had heard the funniest joke in the world, she sneered. This is the first time I've heard someone say that 006 is an ordinary girl. How interesting. If 006 is ordinary, are there any extraordinary people in this world? Chapter 1746. Looking at Xiang Jiai and Hu Yiru, who had mocked Yun Jian over and over again, Shinji almost burst out laughing. This was the funniest joke she had heard this year, bar none. Slaying God, the #1 secret agent on the international secret agent ranking, had been called an ordinary girl by a bunch of ignorant humans who were good at pretending? To be honest, Shinji's starting price for Yun Jian's missions was already considered very low. Take note, this was only the starting price. The starting price was the lowest price. Usually, the price after a deal was completed could double or triple the starting price. However, just hearing this starting price was enough to scare Xiang Jiai, Hu Yiru, and the others half to death. Shinji had never heard anyone say that Yun Jian was an ordinary person who was good at pretending. Although she had always been enemies with Yun Jian, she could not help but retaliate when she heard Hu Yiru belittle Yun Jian. When she finished speaking, Hu Yiru, Xiang Jiai, and the others' eyes widened even more. They were so shocked that their faces turned pale. However, Shinji had already turned her gaze back to Yun Jian. She could not help but speak again in front of everyone. Although I'm not convinced, I, Shinji, have always been upright and never talked nonsense. Right now, I can't compare to her. At this point, Shinji's confidence reignited. She looked at Yun Jian and pointed at Yun Jian confidently. She spoke to Yun Jian as if she was challenging her to a fight. But 006, just you wait. One day, I'll surpass you in all aspects. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. She liked Shinji's unyielding personality. Shinji knew the gap between them and never denied the existence of the gap. However, Shinji had never admitted defeat. She had always maintained her desire to surpass her. Even if the gap between Shinji and Yun Jian's abilities was getting bigger and bigger. Yun Jian understood that the reason she could become stronger was because Shinji had been chasing after her. I'm looking forward to that day. Yun Jian smiled. Yun Jian had indeed come here to help Neil kill the leader of the Soul Devourer. But after seeing that the leader of the Soul Eater organization was Shinji, Yun Jian changed her mind. In the distance, even if Junior was an idiot, he could tell the relationship between Yun Jian and Shinji. Hearing this, Junior wasn't stupid. He naturally knew that it was impossible for him and Yun Jian to kill Shinji. Therefore, Neil turned around and tried to escape. Yun Jian immediately saw through Junior's thoughts. Her eyes darkened, and her red lips curled into a smile as she spoke to Shinji. Your subordinate has just formed an alliance with me. He wants to join forces with me to kill you. He also promised to give me half of the Soul Devourer organization's forces. That's a very attractive offer. Yun Jian didn't say it out loud, but anyone who wasn't stupid could tell that Yun Jian was trying to warn Shinji that the subordinate who had tried to betray him was about to escape. Junior, die. When Shinji heard this, he was enraged. In a few short seconds, Shinji caught up to Junior, who was trying to escape, and killed him in front of everyone. This method of killing was somewhat similar to Yun Jian's. Even so, Xiang Jiai, Hu Yiru, and the others were so scared that they didn't dare say another word. Xiang Jiai, Hu Yiru, and the others had probably spent their entire lives in fear and shock here. After Shinji finished off Junior, Yun Jian turned her head and looked at Shinji. She asked him in French, "You said that someone was buying the puppets. Is the person buying the puppets a mysterious person wearing a black robe?" Yun Jian asked Shinji in French. Naturally, she didn't want Xiang Jiai, Hu Yiru, and the others to understand her question. As expected, when she said this, Xiang Jiai, who had just recovered from the shock of seeing Shinji kill Junior, looked at Yun Jian and couldn't help but complain. What kind of bird language is she blabbering on about? Judging from her accent, she seems to be speaking the most standard French. As soon as Xiang Jiai spoke, a boy who'd only heard French before widened his eyes in shock. She can speak French. It's not hard to learn a foreign language, but to speak it so fluently, you'd have to learn it from elementary school to adulthood, the boy added. Chapter 1747. Yun Jian did not find it strange that this group of people would make a fuss over something so trivial. At this moment, Shinji, who understood Yun Jian's words, replied to Yun Jian in perfect French. That's right. The person who bought the puppets was indeed a mysterious man in a black robe. Yun Jian's eyes lit up when Shinji finished speaking. It was the mysterious man. Any unusual organization had an inseparable relationship with the mysterious man. The Inferno Ring at the beginning, followed by the Blood Doll, and now the Soul Eater. Yun Jian realized that whether it was the Inferno Ring at the beginning, the Blood Doll, or the Soul Eater now, they all had one thing in common. The mysterious man was using others to do his dirty work. In other words, the mysterious man had never sent his subordinates to attack Yunjian, the kosher mercenaries, or the Inhun organization. He had been looking for forces on Earth to deal with Yunjian and Ce. This was also the reason why Yunjian and Ce could not find any trace of the mysterious man. Now that they knew that the mysterious man came from a mysterious continent outside of Yulong mainland, it was understandable why Yunjian and Ce could not find any trace of the mysterious man. Don't sell any more puppets to him in the future, Yunjian said without saying anything else. Shenji's eyelids twitched when he heard Yunjian's words and he nodded. Sure. Of course, she had to do slaying God a favor. As for the other reasons, Shenji would not ask if Yunjian did not mention them. The less she knew the better. Shenji was a smart person, so of course he would not say too much. Not selling any more puppets meant that the kidnapped Sume Mai-chen Xiangjiai and Hu Yiru were useless. In the end they were released. However, before releasing them, Yunjian made everyone take amnesia liquid for 3 hours before sending them away. As a result, whether it was Sume Mai-chen or the rest, their memories stopped at the time they were kidnapped in the truck. He couldn't remember anything that had happened in the last 3 hours, including everything that had happened since he got off the truck. Before Yunjian left, Shenji asked for an address for Yunjian. He said that he could challenge her at any time. In the end, Yunjian and the others were sent back to Loberi's house by Shenji's helicopter. When they arrived at Loberi's house, Yunjian said that she had been unconscious the whole way. When she woke up, she had fallen unconscious in Loberi's house with everyone else. Naturally, he would not pursue the matter any further. Yunjian had returned to Longmen City with Luo Berry, Emo-sun, and Sume. As soon as they got home, Yunjian brought Luo Berry to look for Qingyu, leaving Emo-sun at home. She had nothing to do at home, so she went out for a walk. Yunjian had just brought Luo Mei to Qingyu's house when they saw Qingyu, Gunyinji, and Lung Mei returning from their stroll. I've decided to get a boyfriend. Let's start again. At this moment, Lung Mei's firm voice was heard. Yunjian narrowed her eyes and went forward with Luo Berry. After the introductions, Luo Berry got to know Qingyu, Gunyinji, and Lung Mei quickly. Although Luo Berry was already 18, she looked like she was only 14 or 15. Lung Mei liked Luo Berry quite a lot. Now that they were more familiar with each other, she put an arm around Luo Berry's shoulders and walked out. Lung Mei was sure that her chief, Di Lin, had returned to Blood Doll. He probably gave up on her, because he could not find her. Lung Mei had also sent a woman to Di Lin by mail. Yunjian looked at Lung Mei, feeling like she was starting all over again. Yunjian watched as Lung Mei put an arm around Luo Berry's shoulders and said boldly, "Let's go, little girl. Jie will take you to a handsome guy." Emo-sun was not around. Luo Berry blushed at Lung Mei's words. Before Lung Mei could finish, she saw Di Lin coming from behind Lung Mei. Yunjian, who did not remind Lung Mei of Di Lin's arrival, narrowed her eyes as she watched the fuming Di Lin walk to Lung Mei from behind and grab her wrist, bellowing. Chapter 1748. Yunjian, who was standing behind Lung Mei, saw Di Lin walking over from afar. She grabbed Lung Mei's hand and called out softly. Yunjian smirked and gestured to Luo Mei, Qingyu, and Gunyinji before turning to walk to Qingyu's suite. Qingyu and Gunyinji exchanged a look when Yunjian left. They walked over to drag Luo Mei away, and gave Lung Mei a do-as-you-see-fit expression before following Yunjian upstairs with a smirk. Lung Mei, who had been confident that her Lord Chief would never look for her again, turned her head and saw Di Lin. She was so shocked that she jumped back. F***ck. F***ck. F***ck, Lord Chief. Why are you here? Lung Mei's wrist was suddenly grabbed, and she heard this familiar voice. She didn't react in time. She wanted to curse, but she saw Di Lin's familiar face. Lung Mei stopped in her tracks and took a few steps back, almost tripping. Di Lin grabbed Lung Mei's hand with a dark expression. Who do you want to F***ck? Di Lin grabbed Lung Mei's hand and spoke with a face that looked like he was about to tear her apart. She just told another girl that she wanted to hit on a handsome guy. Hit on a handsome guy? Who did she want to hit on? Who else did she want to be with other than him? Lord Chief, that. I was just talking nonsense. That last time. I just wanted to come out and have some fun. I didn't mean to lie to you. Lung Mei dared not look into Lin's eyes. She was not short, but her height was just above his ear. Because they were very close, Lung Mei could not see his expression clearly. However, just as Lung Mei lowered her head, her eyes darting around as she tried to come up with a series of lies, Lin suddenly put a hand on Lung Mei's waist and pulled her close to him. Lung Mei was stunned. In the next second, a handsome face enlarged in front of her eyes. It was Lin who bent over and kissed her on the lips. Lung Mei was dumbfounded. Her eyes suddenly widened. She was so shocked that she could not use words to describe it. This was the first time Lin took the initiative to kiss her. Lung Mei had always thought that she was just a mistress in Lin's heart, a dispensable tool for him to vent. In the past, it was always Lung Mei who took the initiative to kiss Lin. Lin would never avoid her, but there was no way he would kiss her or kiss her back. That was impossible. Even when they were doing that, she leaned over and kissed him. He never responded to her kisses. This made Lung Mei thought that was only using her as a tool. Therefore, when Lin suddenly bent down and kissed her, Lung Mei was dumbfounded. She stared at Lin's handsome face in shock, and didn't come back to her senses for a long time. Lin kissed Lung Mei for a long time, but didn't get a response. He was a little angry, and reached out his right hand to the back of Lung Mei's head, deepening the kiss. Lung Mei took a few deep breaths. Finally, in broad daylight, just as Lung Mei was about to suffocate from Lin's kiss, Lin let her go. Lung Mei took a few deep breaths. She looked up and met Lin's eyes, planning to tell him her decision. Leader, I'll be frank. I've been with you for so many years. I've always been willing. But after so many years, I'm tired. Aren't you tired? Let's end this relationship. I don't want to be your mistress anymore. Just as Lung Mei was about to say everything she wanted to say, Lin's face darkened. He interrupted her and said something that made her dumbfounded. Chapter 1749. I love you. That's why I forced you to be my woman. Lin's first sentence almost gave Lung Mei a heart attack. What did he say? He said he loved her? He did force her to be Lin's woman back then. Lung Mei knew that Lin did not like dirty women, so he found someone he was familiar with, someone who was pure. When Lin asked Lung Mei if she was willing to be his woman, Lung Mei nodded right away. Firstly, it was because Lin's father had saved her, and she wanted to repay him. Secondly, Lung Mei liked Lin. However, Lung Mei knew that Lin did not like her when she first started following him. She never thought that he would like her one day. It had been so many years. Sometimes Lung Mei wanted a home of her own. She did not want to be a tool for others to vent their frustrations. Lung Mei was sure that Lin did not love her, so she mustered up the courage to say what she said. She thought that Lin would let her go if she said what she said. However, Lung Mei never thought that Lin would say that he loved her. What surprised Lung Mei even more was, he said that he loved her. That's why he forced her to be his woman back then. Did this mean that he loved her from the beginning? There was too much information in these words, causing Lung Mei to be completely stunned. Lung Mei dared not dream of being loved by the great chief. Looking at Lung Mei's adorable dumbfounded expression, Lin smirked. He grabbed Lung Mei and dragged her away. She dared to hide from him these days. Good. Very good. This trip back would take 10 days and 10 nights, not a day less. In Qing Yu's house, on the sofa in the living room, Yun Jian rested her hands lazily on the sofa, blinking. Even Luo Mei, who was also a woman, could not help but take a few more glances at her beautiful and delicate face. Let's go, let's go. This is too exciting. The two of them kissed just like that at the entrance of the busy neighborhood. I told you guys to come out and take a look, but you guys didn't. You missed a good show. Hey. Gu Nianji, who had been peeping at Lin and Lung Mei from the corridor, ran in excitedly when she saw Lin leaving with Lung Mei. Where is he? Yun Jian curled her lips. She pursed her lips and asked indifferently. Gone, already gone, ha. Gu Nianji walked up to Yun Jian and sat down on the sofa beside her. She was secretly happy that Lung Mei had been taken away by Lin. After Gu Nianji sat down, Qing Yu poured a few glasses of orange juice from the kitchen and placed them in front of everyone. Drink, drink, drink. Luoberry, don't be shy. Just treat this place as your own home, Qing Yu said with a cup of wine in her hand. Luoberry thanked them, and her good impression of Qing Yu and Gu Nianji improved. Taking 2 sips of the orange juice, Yunjian pressed her lips together and turned to look at Qing Yu, remembering that Adam and Lan Su had returned to Earth from Yulong mainland. So she asked, "What's the matter? Lan Su didn't come back?" Hearing Yunjian mention Lan Su, Qing Yu, who felt like she had forgotten something, snapped back to reality. She asked Yunjian in return, "She went to Min City to look for you. Didn't you guys meet?" Qing Yu did not know that Yunjian had gone to Luoberry's house. She thought that Yunjian was still studying at Min City's military academy. "I haven't been to Min City's military academy recently," Yunjian said with a press of her lips. Adam did not return to Longmin City. He went back to an Hun group to report to CE that he had returned from Yulong mainland. Adam had gone to Luoberry's house purely to look for Mo Sun, because he had Mo Sun's phone GPS. Adam had gone to look for Mo Sun after sending Lan Su to Qing Yu's house, so he did not know that Lan Su would go to Min City to look for Yunjian. "Oh God, I gave her your school's address not too long ago. She's probably at your school's entrance now." Qing Yu rubbed her forehead and said helplessly, "This was simply a beautiful miss. Besides, she doesn't know how to use a phone, so she didn't buy one. We can't contact her either," Qing Yu added helplessly. How could he miss out on such a magnificent opportunity? "I'll go to Min City to look for her." Yunjian retracted her hand from the sofa and stood up to pass Luoberry to Qing Yu before heading out. Yunjian had taken leave recently because she was worried that Chun Sini's injury would worsen. Now that Chun Sini's critical period was over, Yunjian did not have to stay in Longmin City all the time. Chapter 1750. Lan Su dawdled at the entrance of Min City's military academy for almost an hour. When the guard saw that she was really here to look for someone, he had Lan Su sign a name on the registration form for outsiders and let her in. This was because Lan Su was from the Yulong continent. People from the Yulong continent usually lived up to 1,000 years. Ordinary people could live up to 1,000 years. It was not unusual for people like Lan Su to live up to 10,000 years. Cultivators with powerful spiritual power could even achieve immortality. Of course, other than those freaks in the deity continent, cultivators who could achieve immortality were just legends in the Yulong continent. To Lan Su and the others, time was the least valuable thing. Therefore, when the guard did not let her into Min City's military academy to look for Yunjian, Lan Su had waited at the entrance for a whole hour. Lan Su was not flustered even after an hour of waiting. She had planned to wait for Yunjian to come to Min City's military academy after class. In the end, the guard could not stand it any longer and let her in. Min City's military academy paid special attention to outsiders because the students in the school were usually the future pillars of the country. Lan Su knew which class Yunjian was in. Qing Yu had told her before, so Lan Su headed straight to Year 1-2. Just as she reached Year 1-2's classroom, Lan Su stood at the door and looked around. She frowned in suspicion when she did not see Yunjian. At this moment, a pretty girl walked past Lan Su. She saw that Lan Su had been waiting for quite a while, so she looked at Lan Su and asked, "Classmate, who are you looking for? Do you need me to call that person out for you?" "Year 1-2's Yunjian," Lan Su answered the kind girl. "Yunjian, she's been." The girl was about to reply to Lan Su when she was pushed aside by a fierce figure. After the fierce figure pushed the girl away, she pushed her into the classroom and spoke to Lan Su first. "I know where Yunjian is now. I'm taking leave to go home now. I'll bring you to her. She's not in school." "Thank you." Lan Su thanked her politely. "Are you really Yunjian's friend?" Looking at Lan Su's innocent and naive demeanor, the owner of the ferocious figure, who had bumped into the girl just now, was Lin Shuya, who had always been at odds with Yunjian. Her eyes darted around as she asked Lan Su again in a reassuring tone. "Yes," Lan Su answered simply. Okay. Come with me. I've just taken leave to go home." I'll bring you to Yunjian now. Lin Shuya scoffed inwardly and led Lan Su out of the school gate. Since Yunjian was really not in school, and Qing Yu said that Yunjian was in Min City, Lan Su followed her without much thought. 15 minutes later, Lin Shuya brought Lan Su into a smoky bar. Lin Shuya found an excuse to take leave from school, so that she could gather with some of the gangsters she knew at the bar. A large group of men and women sat together and chatted about some ambiguous topics. Who knew that she would bump into Yunjian's friend at the entrance of the class? She looked so innocent. It was really effortless to obtain it. She, Lin Shuya, wanted Yunjian to know the price of provoking her. Lan Su did not have a deep understanding of Earth, so she did not think too much about it. However, when Lin Shuya brought her into the smoky bar, Lan Su was slightly stunned. Yunjian was here. Chapter 1751. Lin Shuya couldn't wait to frame Lan Su, so she urged her. When Lan Su heard this, her eyes flashed slightly, but she listened to Lin Shuya's words and walked into the noisy smoky bar. Here. I'm in school. I'm good friends with Yunjian. She's amazing. Previously, she won first place in the wilderness survival event during military training. Today we agreed to take leave together and come here to play. Lin Shuya was afraid that Lan Su wouldn't believe her, so she instilled in Lan Su that she knew Yunjian and was good friends with Yunjian. Lan Su was skeptical, but she didn't say anything. She followed Lin Shuya into the private room of the bar. The bar was very noisy, and the violent sound made people's hearts jump. There were also differences in bars. There was a kind of bar that was more romantic. Generally, there were bartenders in the bar, and the bar would also invite a special band to sing. Another kind of bar was a place for urban men and women to relieve pressure after a busy day of work. This kind of bar was generally a place where men and women got to know each other and talked. Moreover, the rock music was set to be particularly loud. When people stood in the bar, they could feel their hearts and bodies being shaken. Generally, the latter was a more chaotic place. It was also a place where one-night stands or things like being drugged often happened. Lin Shuya brought Lan Su to a more chaotic bar. As soon as he entered the bar, he could smell a strong scent of perfume. Or perhaps it was some kind of smell that could make people excited. Lin Shuya brought Lan Su around the noisy bar and came to a private room. As soon as she entered the private room of the bar, the noisy and chaotic sound in the private room made Lan Su frown slightly. In the private room, there was a large group of men and women hugging each other. Some men even boldly placed their hands on the women's thighs and stroked them. Lan Su's appearance was outstanding, so as soon as she entered the private room, she immediately attracted the fiery gazes of the men in the private room. Yo, Sister Shuya, this is? Immediately, a few punks came over and looked at Lan Su with malicious eyes. She's a friend of my friend Yunjian. Brother Jia, where did Yunjian go? Why don't I see her? Lin Shuya saw that the man in front of her was sizing up Lan Su with his lecherous eyes for a few moments, so she winked at the man called Brother Jia a few times and said. Jia saw at a glance that Lin Shuya was lying to Lan Su. So Jia immediately, Lin Shuya's to continue to bluff Lan Su. Sister Yun's sister just went out to buy some water, and will be back in a while. Don't worry, it's yours first time coming here, right? Sit on the sofa's TTS, S-teat. S's, T-sit. Lan Su didn't refuse. After a while, Jia walked to Lan Su with a glass of juice. He smiled at Lan Su. Sister, I see that it's your first time coming to a bar. Don't drink with them. Drink a glass of juice to quench your thirst. Your friend will be back soon. At this time Lin Shuya, who was sitting next to Lan Su, also said, Jia told you to drink 2 sips, so drink 2 sips. I'm going out to look for Yunjian. I don't know what she's doing. Why hasn't she come back yet? With that, Lin Shuya pretended to leave the hotel's private room. Lan Su put the juice halfway to her mouth and smelled the smell of the drug in the juice, but she didn't expose it and drank it in one gulp. Didn't anyone tell them that she was the same as her family's sorcerer god? They both had a physique that was immune to poison. However, Lan Su still fainted symbolically. Lin Shuya, who was standing outside the private room, saw that Lan Su had fainted so quickly. She quickly walked into the room from outside the private room and stopped pretending. She directly tore off her hypocritical mask, pointed at Lan Su, and said to the men in the room, "I'll give you a gift. Turn the sound in our private room to the maximum. You can do whatever you want with this woman. Just don't kill her. I'll guard outside for you. Hurry up." As soon as Lin Shuya finished speaking, a man immediately pulled off his belt with a cheer. The sound in the private room was very loud. It wasn't the first time this group of men had done something like letting a large group of men take turns with a young girl. Lin Shuya was even more confident that she could destroy Yun Jian's friend, Lan Su. "This is beautiful. TSK brothers, last time those women were all first. This time I have to go first." As Brother Jie spoke, he took off his pants without any shame, leaving only a pair of pure black underwear. With a wretched smile on his face, he walked towards the unconscious Lan Su. The people around all cheered with an "oh," all of them treating it as if they were watching a show. However, just as Brother Jie was about to reach Lan Su, and was 3 meters away from Lan Su, the door of the private room was suddenly kicked open. Lin Shuya, who hadn't walked out of the door yet, was so scared that she took 2 steps back. Outside the door, a petite but slender young girl stopped and entered. When they saw the young girl who suddenly entered, the eyes of the people around them lit up. This young girl was so beautiful. But before the people present could exclaim, they saw Yun Jian, who had just entered the room, coldly looking at the scene. She saw Brother Jie walk towards the unconscious Lan Su, and didn't even raise his eyes before a knife flew out. The knife followed the trajectory and accurately stabbed Brother Jie, who was only wearing a pair of underwear. The knife chopped off Brother Jie's manhood on the spot in front of everyone. Seeing this, the faces of the people who were still laughing just now were instantly frightened to the extreme. She actually, before they could think much, they heard a voice that was even more sinister and cold than the azure of hell. Chapter 1752. Yun Jian was furious. Lan Su was not only her protector in her previous life, but also her friend. In her previous life, as the witch god, Lan Su had accompanied her for thousands of years. This kind of feeling was indescribable. At this moment, the knife that she threw out directly chopped off Brother Jie's genitals, causing Brother Jie to roll on the ground in pain. She opened her 5 fingers, and 2 shiny butterfly knives were held between her hands. Yun Jian slowly walked into the private room. With every step she took, everyone present felt their cells tremble violently. She just threw out a flying knife, and that knife seemed to be held in the hands of the Grim Reaper. With a flying knife, it was so accurate that everyone present felt that it was inconceivable. And one knife crippled Brother Jie's genitals. This kind of terrifying skill should not appear on a teenage girl at all. But this girl who suddenly appeared at the door of the private room did it. Just when everyone was panicking about the background of this girl who suddenly appeared, Lin Shuya, who was not far from Yun Jian, pointed her finger slightly at Yun Jian. She was so scared that her face turned pale, and she screamed on the spot. Yun Jian, you, why are you here?" Lin Shuya had seen Yun Jian's methods. This time, she dared to do this because she was sure that Yun Jian was not in Min City. Lin Shuya had just said this, and before she could finish speaking, Yun Jian kicked Lin Shuya's abdomen in front of everyone in the private room, and immediately kicked Lin Shuya to the ground. Her figure followed closely, and the butterfly knife in her right hand swung left and right. She nimbly and accurately placed the blade of the knife on Lin Shuya's neck, who was kicked to the ground. This process was completed in 2 breaths, but it frightened the group of girls standing around, as well as the gangsters who were like Brother Jie in the society. These gangsters were usually very powerful, and they often liked to bring their girlfriends or female friends out to places like bars or nightclubs to play. Usually, when a large group of people played together, they always liked to brag about things that they thought were very proud and arrogant, and then get a large group of girls to worship them, in order to show their holiness. Usually, such hooligans would form gangs. However, no matter how arrogant and powerful they were, they had never seen a girl as powerful as Yun Jian. As a result, this large group of hooligans all opened their mouths wide, and stood in place with an expression of disbelief. Looking at Yun Jian, They could no longer speak. After Yun Jian kicked Lin Shuya to the ground, she placed the butterfly knife on Lin Shuya's neck. The sneer on her face made everyone's hair stand on end. I'll send you to hell, okay? Yun Jian, we are classmates. Put the knife down. Let's talk nicely. Everything that happened just now was just a misunderstanding. Lin Shuya's eyes widened in fright as she tried to find an excuse. As soon as Lin Shuya said this, Yun Jian pushed the butterfly knife in her hand towards Lin Shuya's neck. That burning pain instantly spread throughout Lin Shuya's body. Lin Shuya screamed as blood flowed out. She didn't dare to move anymore. However, they heard Yun Jian's lazy voice again, but the words weren't directed at Lin Shuya. Why aren't you getting up? Yun Jian directly ignored Lin Shuya. Everyone was shocked. Why aren't you getting up? Just as they thought this, they saw Lan Su, who was pretending to be unconscious, turn over and get up from the sofa. When everyone saw this, they were dumbfounded. Wasn't she already unconscious? How did she wake up again? And more importantly, Yun Jian could actually see that Lan Su was pretending to be unconscious. Lan Su had just deceived everyone present. Everyone couldn't help but wonder who Yun Jian was that Lin Shuya provoked. This person was too scary. Lan Su rubbed her nose and parted her lips slightly before she walked to Yun Jian in front of everyone and nodded at her, saying, Yun Jian, you're the one who's going to make a mistake. Chapter 1753. As soon as Lan Su's words fell, the group of delinquents standing around, including Lin Shuya and the others, all froze. What clan leader? What master? How come they couldn't understand what Lan Su was saying at all? But even if they couldn't understand, this group of delinquents didn't dare to make a sound. They had just seen Lan Su drink that cup of juice with the knockout drug. Lan Su had indeed fainted, and now he woke up as if nothing had happened. This could only mean one thing. The knockout drug had no effect on Lan Su at all. And Brother Jia, who had wanted to be the first to make a move on Lan Su, had now been turned from a man to a woman by Yun Jian. How could they dare to say anything more? Did they not want their lifeblood anymore? This group of delinquents, who used to be extremely cocky, were now all cowering in the corner, not even daring to say a single word. After hearing Lan Su's words, Yun Jian simply kicked Lin Shuya away, sheathed her knife, and turned to look at Lan Su. Where is he? Yun Jian asked. In her previous life, the old man who taught her hypnotism and all kinds of skills was her master. If it wasn't for him, she might have already died in her previous life. Let's talk outside. Lan Su glanced at the people around and spoke to Yun Jian. Okay. Yun Jian nodded. But before leaving, Yun Jian did something very interesting. 30 minutes later, the bar's room attendant came to the room. When she opened the door to the room and saw the scene inside, she was so shocked that she covered her face and screamed. She saw that the large group of men and women in the room had all fainted. But the only thing that could be seen was that the large group of men and women were hugging each other in pairs, their clothes disheveled, as if they were doing something unspeakable. In the end, Lin Shuya and the group were all taken away by the police for group prostitution. Of course, what happened next had nothing to do with Yun Jian. After Yun Jian and Lan Su left the bar, they came to an empty corner. Sorcerer God, we don't know your master's whereabouts at the moment, but the clan leader found out that a martial arts family on Earth had helped your master before. Before your master left, he left a letter for the master of the martial arts family. That letter contained a detailed way to contact your master, saying that it was to repay the kindness of this family head. It's just that the head of the martial arts family is rather stubborn. The patriarch has already sent people 3 times to exchange various treasures for the letter, but they still couldn't get the letter. Lan Su conveyed what Wu Lan, the tribe leader of the Wu tribe, wanted to tell Yun Jian. Yun Jian's eyes flickered. Where is that warrior family? Yun Jian pursed her lips and asked. Sorcerer God, are you going there personally? Lan Su asked. Okay. Yun Jian nodded. It's in a small ravine in the north of Dongdong province. It's very far from Longmen City, answered Lan Su. Pack up. We'll depart in 3 days. It was Friday 3 days later. They would depart on a holiday. Yun Jian's lips curved as she spoke faintly. Okay. Lan Su nodded obediently. After the announcement, Lan Su returned to Longmen City, while Luo Mei stayed at Qing Yu's house. Chen Sini's injuries were almost healed, so Yin Jian went back to Min City's military academy. Lin Wan and Muing stayed with Yin Jian for half a day in Min City's military academy. When the physical education class ended in the afternoon, the physical education teacher announced that the students were free to do whatever they wanted. Yin Jian, Lin Wan, and Muing sat on a lawn nearby, looking at the blue sky leisurely. Yin Jian, let's go shopping after school on Friday. There's a new mall in Min City recently. The clothes there are really pretty. Lin Wan suggested. I have something on this weekend. Yin Jian declined. All right, we'll go next week then. Lin Wan knew Yin Jian well. She would not press for the reason, even if Yin Jian said that she could not go. Yin Jian nodded. Just as the physical education teacher returned to his office, and Yin Jian's classmates were free to do whatever they wanted, a middle-aged man walked over from afar. The middle-aged man left in a hurry, attracting the attention of many people around him. Yin Jian narrowed her eyes as she watched the unfamiliar man walk up to her. When the middle-aged man came to Yin Jian, he knelt down in front of her in front of all the students in the field and shouted, I'm sorry, Yin Jian. Please save my young master. Save my young master. I beg you. When the surrounding students saw this, they were all stunned for a moment. What was wrong with this man? Why was he kneeling before Yin Jian and begging Yin Jian to save his life? Yin Jian was Team Monarch's slashing god, but she was only good at it. Was it not the doctor's job to save lives? Uncle, are you looking for the wrong person? Saving people is a doctor's job. Lin Wan replied in front of the other students after she heard that. However, before Lin Wan could finish her sentence, the middle-aged man shook his head and looked at Yin Jian. No, there's no mistake, it's her. She's the legendary hand of death, who can bring the dead back to life. With that, the middle-aged man looked straight into Yin Jian's eyes and said urgently to Yin Jian in front of everyone. Chapter 1754. The middle-aged man's pleading posture was eye-catching, especially when he had come to the school to beg for help. Yin Jian's class was not the only class that was having PE class. There were a few classes around them that were having PE classes as well. The middle-aged man's cry for help, and what he said earlier echoed clearly throughout the classroom, shocking many who were there. Especially when the middle-aged man said the last sentence. He actually said, Yin Jian was the hand of death in the medical field. She even revived a girl who was declared dead in Longmen City's People's Hospital. What kind of joke was this? There were a few girls in Yin Jian's class who were closer to Lin Shuya, so they burst into laughter when they heard what the middle-aged man said. The hand of death in the medical field? You don't say. I really do pay attention to the medical world. The hand of death is known as the king of the medical field. I heard that she can even revive a person whose heart and brain were declared dead. She's the most amazing medical genius in the world today. She's the real reincarnation of Hua Tuo. But how can such an amazing person be Yin Jian? Even if she's dead, she can't be Yin Jian. And if Yin Jian is so amazing, why didn't she choose military medicine when she applied for military school? A girl who looked decent standing not far away from Yin Jian was Yin Jian's classmate and Lin Shuya's friend. As the girl spoke, she mocked Yin Jian in an indirect manner. She thought she was amazing because she majored in military medicine, unlike Yin Jian, who did not know anything about medicine and trained her skills with the guys all day long. Once the girl spoke, many people around them chimed in agreement. Yin Jian's ability was already so outstanding. Could she be the hand of death? The middle-aged man insisted on his opinion after listening to the people around him. No, she must be the hand of death. As he spoke, the middle-aged man looked at Yin Jian and said to Yin Jian, There's a recording of the operation you performed in Longmen City's People's Hospital the last time. You saved a dead man. As long as you save our young master, our old master will give you a reward of 50 million. The middle-aged man's surname was Zhua, and he was the housekeeper of the young master and old master's house. Steward Zhua had watched his young master grow up. Just now, his young master had gotten into a car accident. The hospital had concluded that he could not be saved, and could only wait for death. Coincidentally, the doctor at the hospital said that only the hands of the medical world's Grim Reaper could save her. The doctor also said that Death's hand was last seen in Longmin City People's Hospital. Steward Jua's family was powerful and influential. He managed to find out Yun Jian's current identity with just a few phone calls, and even found the surveillance footage of Longmin City's People's Hospital's surgery scene. As soon as he got the address, Steward Jua immediately rushed over to beg Yun Jian for help. A reward of 50 million. 50 million. In this day and age of 1999, 50 million was an astronomical figure. It was equivalent to a few billion in modern times. Therefore, when they heard Steward Jua's words, the surrounding students were dumbfounded. Even the girl who was certain that Yun Jian was not the hand of death was completely dumbfounded. Just when everyone thought that Yun Jian would agree to Steward Jua's request regardless of whether she was the hand of death or not, a cold smile appeared on Yun Jian's face. From afar, Yun Jian smirked and looked at Steward Jua with a cold smirk. She said faintly, "Since when did the fee for me to save someone become so low?" When Yun Jian finished speaking, everyone was stunned. Yun Jian's words meant, could it be that she was the one in the legends? Before they could ponder further, Yun Jian's words were heard again. She was speaking to Steward Jua. Chapter 1755. Yun Jian's words entered everyone's ears, and they were all shocked. Yun Jian's words were an admission of her identity, and she was also telling Steward Jua about it. She wouldn't save people. As the hand of death in the medical world, Yun Jian rarely saved people. Although she was the hand of death in the medical world, not everyone could be saved. It wasn't easy being a doctor, not to mention her as the hand of death. Even if an ordinary doctor had excellent medical skills, was very strong, and could perform every operation smoothly, if he failed one day, people would completely lose confidence in him. There was no time when people didn't make mistakes, and there was also no time when they didn't make any mistakes. This was true. However, in the medical world, to the common people, and to the general public, no one would use this to understand doctors. How could there be any mistakes when a person's life was gone? Even an ordinary doctor would be despised because of a careless mistake, let alone her, who was at the top of the medical world. Yun Jian wasn't a god, so naturally, she couldn't save people from the dead every time. In the past, Yun Jian relied on her hands to save people. Now that she had recovered her spiritual power, it was unrealistic for her to use her spiritual power to save people every time. On Earth, every time she used her spiritual power to save someone, she would have to bear the punishment of not making any progress in her cultivation for 10 years. Every time she used her spiritual power, it would be stacked. After saving Chen Sini last time, Yun Jian's cultivation had been stagnant for 10 years. Naturally, she couldn't easily save people again. Yun Jian's words were all true, but to the students around Yun Jian, it was abrupt and shocking. Yun Jian's words didn't mean that she was admitting that she was the hand of death. You're the hand of death? You're really the hand of death? You must be joking. The girl who mocked Yun Jian earlier glared at Yun Jian, her face pale with fright. Mu Ying wasn't surprised at all. She knew that Yun Jian was slaying God, so she knew that all these identities meant nothing to Yun Jian. Steward Jua's expression changed slightly after hearing Yun Jian's words. He wasn't surprised that Yun Jian would reject him. In front of everyone, Steward Jua fished out a black envelope from his pocket and passed it to Yun Jian. "This is a letter that my master wrote to you. He said that he wants you to read this letter before making a decision." Yun Jian was sitting lazily on the lawn, her arms resting on both sides of her body, her eyes narrowed. Seeing Steward Jua pass a letter to her, she accepted it and quickly opened the envelope to skim through its contents. After reading the letter, Yun Jian tore it into pieces in front of everyone. Then she stood up and said to Steward Jua, "Let's go." Steward Jua was skeptical at first. Before he came to look for Yun Jian, his master had said that Yun Jian would never agree to save his young master. However, his master had given him a letter saying that Yun Jian would definitely agree after reading it. Where are we going? Steward Jua didn't know how to react. By then, Yun Jian had already informed Lin Wan and Mu Ying and walked away. After Steward Jua asked, Yun Jian's voice came from afar. Your young master is beyond saving if we're late. Did Yun Jian mean that? She agreed. Steward Jua didn't know how to react. Chapter 1756. Yun Jian's change in attitude caught everyone off guard. Why did she agree? Mu Ying and Lin Wan didn't understand why Yun Jian had agreed, but Yun Jian must have her reasons for doing so. Seeing Yun Jian walk away, the girl who had mocked Yun Jian at first, but was later shocked by Yun Jian's actions, her face darkened. Since Steward Jua could enter the school through the main entrance, he could definitely take Yun Jian out immediately. Moreover, Steward Jua's family was very powerful. It wouldn't be difficult for him to take Yun Jian out of the school first. Steward Jua was the steward of the Shun family. The Shun family was a wealthy family in Jiang province, not far from Zhe province. The Shun family was built by Steward Jua's father. The Shun family was a wealthy family, strictly speaking, although they weren't as rich as the Luo Berry family. In this era, a wealthy family like the Shun family was an existence that ordinary people could only look up to. They were an existence that ordinary people would never be able to touch in their entire lives. The Shun family had a private helicopter. Steward Jua took the private helicopter from Jiang province to Min City in Zhe province. The helicopter flew for more than an hour before Yun Jian arrived in Jiang province. Nanqing, Jiang province. Nanqing was the richest and most prosperous area in Jiang province. Although Nanqing wasn't as developed as Zhe province, it wasn't that bad either. Steward Jua took Yun Jian directly to the Nanqing People's Hospital. According to him, his young master had been sent to the Nanqing People's Hospital. He was relying on the hospital's equipment to keep him alive. He was in a coma. In this state, he could only hold on for 3 more days. Steward Jua took Yun Jian all the way to the operating room. However, halfway there, Steward Jua, who was taking Yun Jian, encountered a group of people. This group of people had sad faces. They were obviously the young master's family and friends. Yun Jian, who was standing at the side, could see that this group of people was worried about the young master's life because of the car accident. Although everyone in this group of people looked depressed, some of them were pretending, and some of them were really so. When they saw Steward Jua, an elegant woman who was holding a handkerchief ready to wipe her tears, but Yun Jian could not see any hint of sadness in her, called out to Steward Jua. Steward Jua, Steward Jua. Steward Jua, Master asked you to bring the hand of death from the medical world here. Why did you bring this little girl here? Is this little girl Xiaoqing's girlfriend? The woman glanced at Yun Jian from left to right. Yun Jian could clearly feel that the woman didn't like her. Xiaoqing was the young master that Steward Jua mentioned, Shun Xiaoqing. As for this woman, her name was Hua Wenru. She was Shun Xiaoqing's stepmother. When Hua Wenru saw Yun Jian, her face was full of disgust. When she first saw Yun Jian, she thought that Yun Jian was so beautiful. Could she be Shun Xiaoqing's girlfriend, who had seduced Shun Xiaoqing to fight for the Shun family's inheritance? Therefore, Hua Wenru didn't wait for Steward Jua to explain. She decided on an identity for Yun Jian herself. Then, she started nagging at Yun Jian. Little girl, you're so young but you're so cunning. Our Xiaoqing doesn't want a girlfriend like you. Hurry up and leave. Hua Wenru glared fiercely at Yun Jian. She didn't look like the stepmother who was wiping her tears with a handkerchief when she found out that Shun Xiaoqing was dying. Yun Jian's eyes flashed. That's right. Our big brother doesn't want a girlfriend like you. Big brother has been in an accident for so long, and you're only here to see him now. Scram. A young girl standing next to Hua Wenru actually shed tears. She really thought that Yun Jian was Shun Xiaoqing's girlfriend after Hua Wenru's words. Therefore, she immediately shouted at Yun Jian angrily. However, just as Hua Wenru was about to use even more vicious words to chase Yun Jian away, Steward Jua angrily introduced Yun Jian to the young girl, who was talking about Yun Jian, to all of Shun Xiaoqing's friends and family. Chapter 1757. Steward Jua had no time to explain to these people blocking the way. If he continued to explain, would his young master still have a chance to live? So Steward Zhua finished speaking and pushed away the group of people in front of him, intending to lead Yun Jian to the hospital's operating room first. Hua Wenru, the girl just now really thought that Yun Jian was young Master Shen Xiaoqing's girlfriend, especially Hua Wenru. When she scolded Yun Jian just now, anyone with a discerning eye would know that she was scolding Yun Jian for being vain. As for the other girl who scolded Yun Jian, it was purely because of Hua Wenru's words that made her run away. That girl was Shen Xiaoqing's biological sister, named Shenbai. Shenbai listened to Hua Wenru's words and really thought that Yun Jian was Shen Xiaoqing's girlfriend, so she scolded Yun Jian. Her brother Shen Xiaoqing had an accident for some time. If Yun Jian was really her brother's girlfriend, where was she when her brother had an accident? Why didn't she come to see her brother? But after listening to Steward Zhua's words, Shenbai was slightly stunned. Yun Jian was actually the legendary hand of death in the medical world. After recovering from her shock, Shenbai softly apologized to Yun Jian. "I'm sorry. I just mistakenly thought that you were my brother's girlfriend." Shenbai was still considered a good girl. She was so emotional just now because her brother Shen Xiaoqing had such an accident these few days. So it was inevitable that she would be emotional. But Hua Wenru was different. She couldn't wait for Steward Zhua to fail to invite the hand of death, and for Shen Xiaoqing to die. When she saw Steward Zhua bring Yun Jian over, Hua Wenru was already certain that Yun Jian was definitely not the hand of death. So she just spoke up to find a reason to suppress Yun Jian. But Hua Wenru never thought that Yun Jian was really the hand of death in the medical world. This can't be true. How old is she? She's about the same age as Shen Xiaoqing and Shenbai. How could she be the famous hand of death in the medical world? The hand of the Grim Reaper that could bring back the dead? Stop right there. Hua Wenru rolled her eyes and shouted at Steward Zhua, who was about to bring Yun Jian to the rescue. "Steward Zhua, even if you can't get the Grim Reaper's hand to help you, you shouldn't get a little girl to make up the numbers, right? This is related to young master's life." On the surface, Hua Wenru looked like she was always thinking for Shen Xiaoqing, but in fact, she just wanted to stall for time. He didn't believe that Yun Jian was the hand of death. This was one of the reasons. More importantly, what if Yun Jian really was the hand of death and saved Shen Xiaoqing? Hua Wenru did not give birth to a son or a daughter for the Shen family. She only hoped that after Shen Xiaoqing died, she could give birth to a son to inherit the Shen family's business. "Madam, it can't be wrong. She was the hand of death." Steward Zhua still couldn't tell that Hua Wenru was stalling for time. He wanted to continue explaining to Hua Wenru. But when he turned his head, he saw that Yun Jian had already walked to the operating room. "My time is limited. If you continue to stall for time, you'll have to give me half of the Shen family's fortune in exchange for saving your young master." Yun Jian walked forward with her hands in her trouser pockets and said calmly and leisurely. In the end, Yun Jian added, "I believe that compared to a son, it's only half of the family's fortune. Your old master will give you that." After she finished speaking, Yun Jian's lips curved into a cold arc. These two sentences were completely directed at Hua Wenru. If you continue to stall for time, you might even lose half of the family's fortune in the fight for inheritance. After hearing Yun Jian's words, Hua Wenru was really angry and annoyed. However, she really didn't say anything else. Instead, she looked at Yun Jian's receding figure and clenched her fists angrily. Yun Jian followed Steward Zhua all the way to the door of the operating room. At the door of the operating room stood a man in his 50s. Half of his hair was already white. The moment he saw Steward Zhua and Yun Jian, the man hurried forward to welcome them. "Great Sorcerer Goddess." The man walked over and was about to kneel before Yun Jian in the same way that commoners in Yulong mainland would greet the Great Sorcerer Goddess. Yun Jian's eyes flashed slightly. She replied calmly, "I'm here. There's no need to greet me." Chapter 1758. After Shen Wei heard Yun Jian's words, he did not insist on bowing. After all, this was a hospital, and there were many people coming and going. If he, a man in his 50s, publicly knelt before Yun Jian, a teenage girl, the people around him would probably think that he was crazy. Yes, Shen Wei was from the Yulong continent. Of course, Simply because Xunwei was from the Yulong continent, it naturally did not affect Yun Jian's desire to save him. What really affected Yun Jian's desire to save him was, "Do you really have a way to restore all my memories from my past life?" Yun Jian raised her eyebrows and looked at Xunwei with an extremely cold expression. "Yes, but to help you restore all your memories of the sorcerer god, I have to pay a high price, so I hope that you can help me with one more thing after you save my son," Xunwei said to Yun Jian. Steward Zhuo was also from the Yulong continent, so there was no need to avoid talking about this in front of him. "What is it?" Yun Jian pursed her lips and said, "Can you be my personal bodyguard and protect my daughter, Shenbai, for a month? My son, Shen Xiaocheng, didn't become like this because of a car accident. It was caused by someone. I'm afraid that person will harm my daughter again." Shenwei thought of this and frowned as he spoke to Yun Jian. "I know this is a difficult task, but you are the sorcerer god. How can you protect people like us who have no status in the Yulong continent?" Shenwei thought that he had put Yun Jian in a difficult position, and even he himself felt that he was asking too much of Yun Jian. Just as he was about to say something else, Yun Jian interrupted him. "Deal. Protect Shenwei's daughter for a month, save Shen Xiaocheng, and get all her memories from her past life." This was a very good deal. Last time when she was absorbing the memories transmitted from the sandalwood box, she was interrupted halfway, and Yun Jian only remembered part of it. She always felt that she had forgotten something important. Moreover, she should be able to find traces of the mysterious person from her past life's memories. At this moment, Ce was not here. If Ce was here, he would definitely stop Yun Jian from recovering her memories. In his previous life, Ce had sacrificed too much for Yun Jian. He didn't want Yun Jian to know, because he didn't want her to feel apologetic towards him. He would rather she never recover her memory than remember that she once went to settle accounts with the mysterious man. Because he was there for her, he would take back everything that he owed her. Shenwei had already prepared everything for the surgery, because he had expected Yun Jian to come. When Yun Jian arrived, Shenwei and Yun Jian exchanged a few words before Yun Jian entered the operating room. 2 hours later, Yun Jian removed the surgical tools and walked out of the operating room. "How is it?" Hua Wenru, who was standing at the entrance, was the first to rush over and ask. Outsiders thought that Hua Wenru was worried about Shen Xiaocheng's life. That was right. Hua Wenru was worried about Shen Xiaocheng's life. However, she was only worried about whether Shen Xiaocheng was dead or alive. Yun Jian ignored Hua Wenru. She turned to look at Shenwei and said, "Your son will wake up in 3 hours." Although Shenwei already knew that this would be the result, he still heaved a deep sigh of relief after hearing Yun Jian's words. "Master, it's good that Xiaocheng is fine. It's good that he's fine." Hua Wenru stood beside Shenwei and pretended to be relieved. However, she turned her head and glared at Yun Jian fiercely. "This little bitch actually saved Shen Xiaocheng. His life is no longer in danger. I have to go back and do something. I'll come back a day later as scheduled," Yun Jian said to Shenwei. She had been Shenbai's bodyguard for a month. During this month, she had to ask for leave from the school and explain to Qin Yiru that she could disappear for a month for no reason. Moreover, she had to explain the reason to Ce. Otherwise, he would come looking for her. In fact, even if Yun Jian didn't say anything, Ce would still come looking for her no matter where she went. For some reason, Yun Jian felt that Ce didn't want her to remember her past life. Therefore, Yun Jian didn't tell Ce the details. Chapter 1759. Yun Jian returned to Longmen City after that. First, she contacted Lan Su to postpone her trip to Dongdong Province, to ask for an envelope containing her master's contact number from the head of the martial arts family for a month. She then went back to settle Luo Mei down and explained to Qin Yiru, before returning to Min City's military academy, to apply for a month's leave. Yun Jian's ability was outstanding, so it was not difficult for her to apply for a month's leave in school. Qin Yiru was aware of her identity now. Before she left, Qin Yiru reminded her to be careful of her own safety, and to remember one thing no matter what danger she encountered. Don't treat your life as a joke. It's not scary to lose anything, because you still have us. Hearing Qin Yuru's words, Yunjian's heart warmed. A day later, Yunjian arrived at the Shen residence as scheduled. The Shen family's villa was similar to Gu Yunjian's. The style was grander and classy, so it was presentable. By then, Yunjian had already entered the Shen family's house. When Shen Wei saw Yunjian, he gave her a small bow and brought Yunjian to the study to discuss business. Hua Wenru clenched her fists tightly when she saw this. This little slut. She couldn't be thinking of seducing his master, right? In the study, Yunjian sat in front of the desk in the study, while Shen Wei stood beside her, looking at her submissively with his head lowered. If an outsider were to see this, they would be scared to death. Shen Wei was a prominent figure in the southern part of the province. For such a prominent figure to be so respectful to a teenage girl, would it not be frightening? Yunjian played with the black pen in her hand, as she listened to Shen Wei introduce the Shen family's current situation to her lazily. I, Shen Wei, was originally the pride of an aristocratic family in the Yulong continent. Although my Shen family is not even a 10,000th of the sorcerer tribe, it's still not bad. I, Shen Wei, was originally the heir of the Shen family, but I was framed and chased out of the Yulong continent. Shen Wei was originally the heir of the Shen family in the Yulong continent. After being framed, he was chased out of the Yulong continent. As he had nowhere to go, he left the Yulong continent with steward Zhua, who was willing to follow him, and came to Earth. Then, she met Shen Xiaoqing and Shen Bai's biological mother, so she settled down on Earth. Shen Xiaoqing and Shen Bai's mother died early due to illness. For the sake of their children, Shen Wei had no choice but to remarry. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. Shen Wei realized that he was not the only one from the Yulong continent. In the southern part of the province, there were many people from the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent. Not only did these people form cliques, but they also severely suppressed the aristocratic families who did not join them. Shen Wei's daughter, Shen Bai, was studying at Meteor Aristocrat Academy. Many of the students in the academy were descendants of aristocratic families in Yulong mainland. Shen Wei's son, Shen Xiaoqing, had an accident, and these people couldn't get away with it. Because Shen Wei refused to join them and collude with them, this group of people made a move on him. Because we can't use spiritual power on Earth, we fight openly. The descendants of these aristocratic families have been practicing their skills since they were young, so their strength shouldn't be underestimated. But fortunately, we can't use spiritual power on Earth. When I was chased out of the Yulong continent, all my spiritual power was crippled. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to deal with them at all. Shen Wei sighed. After listening to Shen Wei's words, Yunjian's hand, that was twirling the black pen, paused. Her eyes flashed sharply. You're saying that the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent rely on their own abilities to suppress the aristocratic families who don't cooperate with them? Yes, this was the point that troubled him. Chapter 1760. The sorcerer goddess was not only the supreme existence that the people of Yulong mainland worshipped and revered, she was also the symbol of Yulong mainland, the symbol of an eternal and undefeated existence. With the sorcerer goddess, the sorcerer race would definitely prosper. With the sorcerer goddess in Yulong mainland, other than the god's mainland, in the vast universe, no other mainland could be compared to Yulong mainland. This was the value of the sorcerer goddess's existence. She was a god. She was the symbol of Yulong mainland. In Yulong mainland, if the sorcerer goddess appeared in front of the aristocratic families of Yulong mainland, it would be like a bolt from the blue to those aristocratic families. Even Shen Wei was dazed for a moment when he first saw Yunjian. He had really seen the godlike existence that he had never been able to touch in the Shen family of Yulong mainland. The sorcerer goddess never went back on her words. With the sorcerer goddess around, those aristocratic families who had always done bad things were done for. Shen Wei heaved a sigh of relief. The Shen family was influential, so it was not difficult for them to transfer Yunjian to Meteor Academy for nobles midway through her studies. Dad, do you want Sister Grim Reaper to go to school with me? Early in the morning, Shen Bai blinked and asked Shen Wei when she saw Yunjian, standing in front of her with a shoulder bag. Xinbai was 15 years old this year. Because of her excellent grades, she was smart and eager to learn, so she had skipped 2 grades. She was now in her second year of high school in Meteor Academy. Meteor Academy was a joint school between middle school and high school. But Meteor Academy was an aristocratic academy. Here, you could only enter if you had money. Furthermore, the teachers and the environment of Meteor Academy were all top-notch. Xinbai was actually quite adorable. Aside from the fact that she was misled by Hua Wenru when she first saw Yunjian and said some unpleasant things to her, Xinbai was actually quite adorable. However, Xinbai had also apologized. Ever since Yunjian saved her brother, Xinbai had been calling Yunjian's sister Grim Reaper. Yunjian did not have any objections and smiled faintly at Xinbai. Don't tell others that sister is the hand of Grim Reaper. This will bring trouble to big sister. Xinwei shouted at Xinbai. Dad, I got it. Xinbai stuck her tongue out at Xinwei and then walked over to Yunjian. Halfway through, she turned around and glanced at Xinwei. Dad, take good care of big brother. We'll be leaving first. Watch the road. Slow down. Xinwei looked at his daughter Xinbai's departing figure with heartache. He smiled kindly and said, her home wasn't close to the school, but it wasn't far either. However, Xinbai never took a private car. She was very independent and always ran to school while exercising. Yunjian appreciated this. After Yunjian followed Xinbai into the Meteor Aristocratic Academy, Xinbai led Yunjian all the way to the classroom of grade 2-1. Yunjian came to the school to protect Xinbai, so she was naturally arranged to be in the same classroom. Sister Grim Reaper, there's still a seat at the back of the classroom. I might have to trouble you to sit at the back of the classroom first, because our class has arranged the seating chart before. Xinbai looked at Yunjian apologetically. It's fine. Yunjian smiled at Xinbai. Early in the morning, Yunjian had just accompanied Xinbai to the classroom and attracted the attention of many students in the class. Among them, a rich boy walked up to Yunjian and looked at Yunjian flirtatiously. Yo, a transfer student? Little girl, you're quite pretty, aren't you? Just as he said this, suddenly, a series of exclamations came from the field outside the classroom. Ah, young Master Lung is here. Young Master Lung is so handsome. Our young Master Lin is still more handsome. He's indeed one of the 3 school hunks in our school. Oh my God. I'm about to faint from how handsome he is. Such words kept ringing out. When Xinbai heard this, she put down the school bag in her hand in an uproar and said to Yunjian, Sister, I'll go take a look. Then she ran out. Yunjian's mission was to protect Xinbai, so naturally, she had to be by her side at all times. Seeing this, she swung her hand, and the school bag in her hand flew directly to the empty seat at the back of the classroom from a distance of more than 10 meters. Under the horrified expressions of the large group of students in the classroom, and the rich boy who wanted to hit on her, she turned and left the classroom. Chapter 1761. Because of Yunjian's move, the classroom was in an uproar. However, after the rich boy finished speaking, a boy immediately became unhappy and retorted, It's just a coincidence. It's just like playing basketball. If you're lucky, a girl can also score 10 goals in a row. The boy who said this was naturally envious of Yunjian's move just now. He felt that Yunjian's move just now should not have appeared on a girl. If he could have Yunjian's move just now and perform it in front of everyone, especially those gullible girls, wouldn't he be able to receive exclamations? It was a pity that the girls were not in the classroom right now. These 2 girls were all attracted by the 3 school hunks of Meteor Aristocrat Academy, who had just entered the school gate. Yunjian followed behind Xinbai. She looked at Xinbai as if she had won $1 million. She was so excited that it was as if she had seen a mountain of Grandpa Mao, and rushed towards the field. While Xinbai was running, Yunjian was strolling in that direction. Although Yunjian's footsteps were slow, her pace was not slow. She could still catch up to Xinbai's pace. The crowd on the field was already in an uproar. Most of the people on the field were girls. One by one, they were screaming as if the rain from the sky was Grandpa Mao. However, in the distance, A boy wearing sunglasses and two other boys wearing branded clothes got out of three luxurious sports cars. It was not hard to tell that these three people were the targets of this group of people's screams. Shenbai stopped running when she was 20 meters away from the crowd. She jumped to a place where she could stand very high and see further. She looked at the one wearing sunglasses among the three boys. Yun Jian simply sat beside Shenbai with a lazy look on her face. After about 10 minutes, the three boys were surrounded by a group of girls as they walked over. However, they passed by this place. Because Shenbai was standing very high among the three boys, the gentler-looking boy turned his head to look at Shenbai. However, Shenbai did not look at this gentle-looking boy. Her eyes were fixed on the boy in sunglasses in the distance who was called Young Master Lung. This pretty good-looking boy with sunglasses and a cold face was called Lung Yichen. He was one of the three school hunks of the Meteor Aristocratic Academy. He was handsome and cold, and was the future target of many girls. As for the other two, they were also one of the three school hunks of the Meteor Aristocrat Academy. The gentle and elegant boy was called Song Zilin, and the sloppy boy was called Gong Shangjin. The family backgrounds of the three of them were among the best in the entire Z nation. At this moment, the three boys were surrounded by a large group of girls. When they passed by Yun Jian and Shenbai, who was standing at a high place, Shenbai screamed at the boy wearing sunglasses. Cold! Before her voice fell, Yun Jian's eyes suddenly flashed sharply. In the next second, she saw a young girl in the distance holding a water sprayer, spraying water in the direction of Yun Jian and Shenbai. It was obvious that she did it on purpose. Yun Jian's eyes flashed slightly, and in the next second, she suddenly flew up. Because there were girls surrounding the three boys, Yun Jian and Shenbai's location was very empty. Therefore, Yun Jian's action of flying up was very attractive. This time, not only did the girls chasing the three school hunks see this scene, even the three school hunks saw it. They saw Yun Jian fly over Shenbai, who was standing at a high place. In a short 3 seconds, she turned around and brought Shenbai to a place less than 10 meters away from the sprayer. Chapter 1762. Because Yun Jian's actions were too eye-catching, the surrounding people all looked over. The three school hunks also noticed Yun Jian. However, they saw Yun Jian standing more than 10 meters away and scathed. She brought Shenbai along and nimbly avoided the spray of the water spray. Yun Jian's slender and perfect figure was also presented in front of everyone. Seeing his brother Lung Yichen stop and look at Yun Jian, Song Zilin raised his eyebrows. It was rare for his brother Lung Yichen to stop and look at a young girl. "Chun, why aren't you moving?" Song Zilin asked. After Yun Jian, who was standing in the distance, pulled Shenbai away from the spray of the water spray, Shenbai reacted and said angrily, "It's Lin Qiui. It's not the first time she's done this to me." After saying that, Shenbai pointed at the place where the water spray came from and said hatefully, "Lin Qiui, you're shameless. I don't have any grudges with you. Why do you have to go against me every time?" Seeing that Shenbai had noticed her, Lin Qiui, who was hiding in the dark, walked out. "Ah, it's our school's beauty. It's not the first time she's done this to Shenbai in public. That's right. I think our school's beauty can't stand girls being nice to young Master Lung. I won't dare to like young Master Lung in the future. If the school's beauty goes against me, then I'm done for." Countless female exclamations immediately sounded from the surroundings. Lin Qiui was the school beauty of Meteor Aristocratic Academy. She was beautiful and came from a rich family. Usually, if a girl dared to pursue Lung Yichen, Lin Qiui would definitely make that girl unable to survive in the academy. The person who sprayed Yun Jian and Shenbai with the water spray was Lin Qiui's little follower. After Lin Qiui walked over, she glanced coldly at Yun Jian and Shenbai. Then, she turned her head and said to Shenbai, "With a small aristocratic family like your Shen family, you actually dare to have designs on young Master Lung. Do you not want to survive in the academy anymore?" Many of the young masters and young ladies of the Meteor Aristocratic Academy were descendants of aristocratic families from the Yulong continent. In the academy, these young masters and ladies from the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent had never even been to the Yulong continent. They had only heard about the Yulong continent from their elders. There was also the legend of the sorcerer god, the supreme existence of the Yulong continent. Here, the clans of the Yulong continent were generally referred to as aristocratic families. Not only were Lin Qiui's elders from Yulong mainland, but even the elders of the three school hunks were from Yulong mainland. In fact, many people in the academy knew about the legend of the Yulong continent. However, it was just a legend. The elders of these young masters and ladies came from the Yulong continent, but that was hundreds or thousands of years ago. As for whether the Yulong continent really existed, or how to return to the Yulong continent, these people had no idea at all. Therefore, the Meteor Aristocrat Academy had formed a style. That was, in this place, those who were young ladies or young masters of aristocratic families had a higher status. Lung Yichen, Song Zilin and Gong Shangjin, the three school hunks, had the highest status in their families. Therefore, in the Meteor Aristocratic Academy, their status was also the highest. Next was Lin Qiui's family. Yun Jian had also heard about these things from Shun Wei. She did not expect that there would be so many aristocratic families from the Yulong continent. Hundreds or thousands of years ago, after the entrance to the human world from the Yulong continent was open, they migrated to Earth. Yun Jian sneered. Lin Qiui scolded Shun Bai. Shun Bai was afraid that the Lin family would implicate the Shun family, so she really did not say anything. Seeing this, Lung Yichen wanted to turn and leave. She was just a descendant of a small aristocratic family. However, at the moment when Lung Yichen and the other two were about to leave, they saw Lin Qiui on the other side seeing how beautiful Yun Jian was. She was actually prettier than herself, and jealousy grew in her heart. Which aristocratic family are you from? Lin Qiui looked askance at Yun Jian and asked disdainfully. She guessed that Yun Jian was just a young lady from an unknown aristocratic family. Or perhaps she was not from an aristocratic family at all. Lin Qiui thought confidently. Do you really want to know who I am? Yun Jian sneered back. This crisp and pleasant voice made Lung Yichen and the other two, who were about to leave, stop in their tracks and look curiously at Yun Jian. Of course, Lin Qiui was waiting to see Yun Jian make a fool of herself, so she hurriedly spoke up. However, they saw that Yun Jian, who was standing in front of everyone, in front of all the girls around her, including the three school hunks, Lung Yichen, Lin Qiui, Shun Bai, and everyone else, stopped smiling. Her expression was indifferent, like a revered king, and she said indifferently, "Listen, I will only answer the question of who I am once." Chapter 1763. I am the daughter of the Wu clan of the Yulong continent, the witch goddess who has been in charge of the survival of the Yulong continent for generations. This sentence spread around the field of the Meteor Aristocrat Academy. Yun Jian stood where she was, her cold eyes sweeping across the crowd. Her slender figure stood upright in front of everyone, as if she was a god who held the power to kill. This sentence also spread to the ears of everyone present. It also spread to the ears of Lung Yichen, Song Zilin Gong Shangjin, as well as the campus belle Lin Qiui, who was standing in front of Yun Jian. It stirred up the fiery hearts of this group of people, causing everyone present to be flabbergasted. What did you say? You are the daughter of the Wu clan of the Yulong continent, the witch goddess? The legendary sorcerer god. Lin Qiui had the biggest reaction when she heard Yun Jian's words. She covered her mouth on the spot and screamed. Lung Yichen, who was looking at Yun Jian with a calm expression, as if he was watching an interesting show, also took off the sunglasses he had been wearing on his face in shock. Song Zilin's handsome face also revealed a look of horror. Gong Shangjin immediately put away his sloppy look and became serious. At the same time, he stared at Yun Jian with a serious look, his brows furrowed into a bumpy hill. As for Shun Bai, who was standing next to Yun Jian, she was completely dumbfounded. How could she be the witch goddess of the Yulong continent? Isn't the Yulong continent a legendary place? And isn't the witch goddess a legendary god? How could she appear here? An ordinary girl who did not know the situation looked at Yun Jian. In order to please the campus belle Lin Qiui, she sneered at Yun Jian. Why was this ordinary girl called ordinary? That was because many of the people in the Meteor Aristocrat Academy were young ladies and young masters of aristocratic families, who had migrated from the Yulong continent thousands of years ago. Obviously, this ordinary girl was not a young lady of an aristocratic family. After this ordinary girl finished speaking to Yun Jian, the surroundings fell into a dead silence. Even Lin Shui didn't immediately respond to this ordinary girl's words. Even though Lin Shui really hoped that Yun Jian was just like what this ordinary girl had said, that she was not the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent. But, after the ordinary girl finished speaking, the scene fell silent. In the end, it was Song Zilin, who was as gentle as a gentleman, who stood up and explained. Cough cough, all the descendants of the aristocratic families know that no one can impersonate the sorcerer god of Yulong mainland. Once someone impersonates him, they'll be destroyed. This calamity will happen without you knowing. You will die in a few days, and you won't be able to find out the reason. Speaking of this, Song Zilin clenched his fist and placed it in front of his mouth. He coughed a few times as if to ease the awkward atmosphere. He looked at Yun Jian in front of everyone, and continued to speak. What she said just now, if you're not a member of an aristocratic family, you won't know that the sorcerer goddess is the daughter of the sorcerer clan of Yulong continent. She's the one who controls the life and death of Yulong continent. So she's a member of an aristocratic family. As a member of an aristocratic family, she must know that impersonating the sorcerer goddess will result in her being cursed and dying mysteriously. Even if she's stupid, she wouldn't joke about her own life. Once, there was a girl from the Song family who impersonated the sorcerer goddess as a joke. In the end, in less than 3 days, she was strangely run over by a truck and died. In the eyes of everyone, Song Zilin was usually a gentlemanly young master. He was also very nice and never lied or spouted nonsense. His temperament was completely different from Lung Yichen, who was extremely cold and wore sunglasses. Even if a girl he didn't know fell to the ground, Song Zilin would walk over to help her. At this critical juncture, Song Zilin's analysis of this matter was very organized and clear. After listening to Song Zilin's analysis, everyone present looked at Yun Jian and paused. However, Song Zilin's words were heard clearly again. His words made everyone swallow their saliva. There was a moment of panic. Chapter 1764. When Lin Shui heard Yun Jian admit that she was the sorcerer goddess, she wanted to fight back like a normal girl against Yun Jian. However, as the daughter of a large family, Lin Shui knew the consequences of impersonating the sorcerer goddess. If Yun Jian impersonated the sorcerer goddess, she would be cursed. Of course, the person who impersonated the sorcerer goddess must know about the existence of the sorcerer goddess and use her identity to obtain something or gain someone's trust. Only then would this terrifying curse be effective on her. If Yun Jian was not the sorcerer goddess, then this curse would have already been effective. Everyone blinked. They did not expect that impersonating the sorcerer goddess would result in such an outcome. If they were to accidentally impersonate the sorcerer god, those who don't know will not be cursed if they impersonate the sorcerer goddess. Song Zilin once again spoke out the fear in everyone's hearts. After a pause, Song Zilin continued to joke with the large group of ordinary girls who were chasing after Lung Yichen, Song Zilin and Gong Shangjin, who were oblivious to the situation. Just now, Song Zilin said, "However, let me tell you a very bad news. Now that you know, if you dare to impersonate the sorcerer goddess, you will be cursed." As soon as this was said, everyone trembled. Yun Jian, who was standing in the distance, narrowed her eyes and did not speak. This curse did exist. It was set by her when she was the sorcerer goddess. It was to prevent people from impersonating her from the Yulong continent. Of course, Yun Jian did not expect that there were people from the Yulong continent on Earth. What was even more unexpected was that these people from the Yulong continent brought the legend of the sorcerer goddess to Earth and let so many people know about the existence of the sorcerer goddess. Of course, this curse was only effective on people who knew about the existence of the sorcerer goddess. Therefore, in the past, Yun Jian was not worried that the people on Earth would be cursed because of this. Now that people from the Yulong continent's families had come to Earth and so many people knew about this. Sister Death God. Why does such a terrifying curse exist? Shenbai was good in her studies and had a good ability to accept things. She had already reacted and accepted Yunjian. At this moment, Shenbai turned her head and asked Yunjian in front of everyone. Because of Song Zilin's words, everyone present turned their eyes to Yunjian. Their eyes also followed Yunjian closely. After Shenbai asked this question, everyone stared at Yunjian, as if they were waiting for Yunjian's reply. Song Zilin said that if Yunjian dared to say that she was the witch god, then she must be the legendary witch god. The people around them were all students, and students were generally more curious. Everyone wanted to know more about the strange curses. Thus, all of them turned to look at Yunjian. Even Leng Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin were looking at Yunjian, waiting for her reply. You really want to know? Yunjian turned her head slightly and looked at Shenbai from the corner of her eyes. She smiled slightly and said softly. When Yunjian said this, Shenbai quickly nodded. Yes, yes. Sister Death God, I want to know why. At this moment, everyone's focus was no longer on why Shenbai called Yunjian Sister Death God. Everyone's hearts tightened for no reason. At this moment, Yunjian's smile suddenly disappeared in front of everyone, and she said coldly, I was cursed by the witch god. I, the witch god, have protected the witch race for thousands of years in the Yulong continent. I once defeated 1009 continents who invaded and slandered my Yulong continent. I once led the Yulong continent to become an existence second only to the God's continent among the tens of millions of continents in the vast universe. Chapter 1765. Yunjian's words reverberated throughout the entire place. Everyone who heard her words had a moment of horror and shock, especially the young ladies and young masters of the aristocratic families. At this moment, a large group of people were dumbfounded as they listened to Yunjian's words. They opened and closed their mouths, but in the end, no words came out. The young ladies and young masters of the aristocratic families had only heard the elders of their families mention what Yunjian said. In this vast universe, there were tens of millions of continents. That's right, there were tens of millions of worlds like the Yulong continent other than Earth. However, these tens of millions of continents were all connected to each other. There was no way to go to Earth alone, or to go from Earth to the tens of millions of continents directly. Even if the top masters of the tens of millions of continents wanted to go to Earth, there was no way at all. Earth and the continents were like two unrelated worlds, each living their own lives. Until a few thousand years ago, the Lord God of the Gods continent forcibly tore open the passage from the Yulong continent to Earth, connecting the two places that would never be connected. As for Leng Yichen, Song Zilin, Gong Shangjin, Lin Qiui, Shenbai, and the other ancestors of the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent, they came here through that passage. However, hundreds of years ago, the passage collapsed, so the aristocratic families of Leng Yichen and the others did not know how to return to the Yulong continent. After settling down on Earth for a few generations, their understanding of the Yulong continent could only be found through the records of their ancestors, or the books passed down. Undoubtedly, these people did not know that the stone cave in the ancient tomb was the entrance to the Yulong continent. Of course, even if these people knew, they could not go back, because it had been passed down for generations. The ancestors who had the strength of the Yulong continent had passed away, leaving behind Leng Yichen and the others who were only descendants of the aristocratic families. They did not have the ability to pass through the stone cave at all. However, whether it was Leng Yichen or the descendants of the aristocratic families present, they had all subconsciously heard that the Yulong continent was at the bottom of the tens of millions of continents. The women of the Yulong continent were so lowly that any man from the continent could violate them. The people of the Yulong continent lived a life worse than death. That was the fate of the weak. However, at that time, the daughter of the sorcerer clan led the sorcerer clan to rule the entire Yulong continent. In just a few decades, the Yulong continent became an existence second only to the God's continent. Among the tens of millions of continents, the Yulong continent was originally the lowest-level continent. However, the sorcerer clan's daughter led it to the peak of the tens of millions of continents. It could be said that the Yulong continent was the strongest continent because of the sorcerer continent's continent at that time. This matter had shaken the entire universe at that time. The sorcerer's battle. As for the deity's continent, it was a hidden continent. The people living on the deity's continent were all deities. Gods of the continents, gods of the continent of the world continent would be continent. There were even rumors that the sorcerer god had once killed a deity from the deity's continent. Had it all of the people's SSSS world continent and of the S. When they first heard it, they were all frightened. However, the fear at that time was not as shocking as what Yun Jian had just said. What Leng Yichen and the others had heard at that time was only a rough idea. Yun Jian had just told them the details that they did not know. People who weren't there wouldn't be able to understand this kind of shocking feeling. There was no doubt that Yun Jian, as the sorcerer god, was a strong person. How strong was she? Chapter 1766. After Yun Jian finished speaking, a large group of people stood around her. There were at least a few hundred people. But whether it was the group of girls who chased after Leng Yichen's group, or Lin Shui and Shen Bai, at this moment, everyone was stupefied and speechless. When Yun Jian said what she said just now, it was as if the people around her could see the smoky battlefield and the sorcerer goddess's body that made people tremble. Lin Shui swallowed hard. When she came back to her senses, she saw that Leng Yichen, whom she admired, was looking at Yun Jian with great interest. Seeing this, Lin Shui's hands suddenly clenched into fists. Who cared if she was the sorcerer goddess or not? How dare she attract the attention of her man? She must have a death wish. Don't talk as if you're really the sorcerer goddess. Young Master Lin just said that you're the sorcerer goddess. Do you really think you're the sorcerer goddess? Besides, we don't even know if that curse is effective. What if you mysteriously die in a few days? What if you're a fake? I don't believe such a made-up lie unless you're really the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent. Lin Shui's eyes turned. She suddenly remembered what Song Zilin said just now. He only said that Yun Jian was the sorcerer goddess, but he couldn't be sure that Yun Jian was the sorcerer goddess. After she finished speaking, the crowd that was silent from Yun Jian's words instantly came back to their senses. Lin Shui's words rang out again. At this moment, Lin Shui suddenly thought of a very important point. She said confidently in front of everyone. Oh right, our Lin family's ancestors once recorded that the sorcerer goddess had fallen thousands of years ago. They also left behind a sentence. When Lin Shui said this, many of the surrounding students' curiosity was piqued by Lin Shui. Shui, what is it? Tell us quickly. Everyone is curious. A few girls standing beside Lin Shui curiously asked Lin Shui with intimate words. Lin Shui's family was a big family, and Lin Shui had a high status in the family. Therefore, some of the girls in the school were proud to be friends with Lin Shui. Hearing the people's interest, Lin Shui was even more confident that Yun Jian was definitely a fake. She definitely couldn't say the words that the sorcerer goddess had said. Therefore, Lin Shui confidently raised her head and said to Yin in front of everyone, if you're really the sorcerer goddess, then you should know what this sentence means, right? She definitely couldn't. Lin Shui lifted her head confidently and looked at Yun Jian in disdain. And Lin Shui could feel that Leng Yichen was looking at her. This made Shui feel that her spring was a new for a moment. To say Shui Lin's was talking to of ASU's least Lin. SA's A's. Yun Jian almost sneered. After a pause, Yun Jian couldn't be bothered with Lin Shui anymore. She turned to Shen Bai and said, let's go. Yun Jian really couldn't be bothered with Lin Shui, nor Leng Yichen and the other two. But seeing Yun Jian like this, Lin Shui felt that her guess was right. You really aren't the sorcerer goddess. I knew it, the sorcerer goddess isn't like you. You can't even say the words before the sorcerer goddess fell. I'm waiting for you to die mysteriously, because you're impersonating the sorcerer goddess. Lin Shui suddenly felt a sense of relief. Fortunately, Yun Jian wasn't the sorcerer goddess. Humph. She actually dared to impersonate the sorcerer goddess. This girl was really bold. Lung Yichen and the other two didn't say anything. Lin Shui really thought that she was right. She knew it. How could the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent be here? In the beginning, Lin Shui still had some doubts about whether Yun Jian was the legendary sorcerer goddess. But look, now that she had been seen through, she was about to turn around and run away. Just as Lin Shui was very confident that Yun Jian was about to leave, a loud voice called out to Yun Jian. "Young lady, wait." Hearing this voice, Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. She turned halfway and glanced at the old man who called out to her. This was an old man in his 50s or 60s. Behind the old man was a large family. "Grandpa, why are you here?" Lung Yichen saw the old man and walked over to ask him. Chapter 1767. It was obvious that Lin Shui knew the Lung family. Lin Shui's family was also an aristocratic family from the Yulong continent, and it was one of the most influential families in the country. Lung Yichen's family, Song Zilin's family, Gong Shangjin's family, and Lin Shui's family were all well-known families among the aristocratic families, and they often interacted with each other. Therefore, when Lin Shui saw the old man, she jumped up and down and pretended to be a naive young girl. She reached out and grabbed the old man's arm and said very intimately, "Grandpa Lung, why are you here?" When Lin Shui talked to the old man, she glanced at Yun Jian from the corner of her eyes, as if it was an honor for her to know the old man. The old man was Lung Yichen's biological grandfather, and the current master of the Lung family, Master Lung. Master Lung got the news that a girl in the Meteor aristocratic school claimed that she was the goddess of witchcraft. Therefore, Master Lung hurried to the school with his family. The moment he saw Yun Jian, Master Lung felt that Yun Jian was extraordinary, so he stopped her at once. Old Master Lung ignored his grandson, Lung Yichen, and granddaughter Lin Shui, who were family friends. His sharp gaze landed on Yun Jian as he asked her in front of everyone, "What do you think? Young lady, are you really the goddess of witchcraft from the Wu family on the Yulong continent?" Master Lung was very excited when he said that, and everyone present could feel his emotions at the moment. As soon as Master Lung asked that question, Lin Shui, who was standing next to him, said in a sharp voice, "Grandpa Lung, she's not. I've just asked around. She's not the goddess of witchcraft at all. She's just bluffing." As Lin Shui said that, she pointed her nose at Yun Jian and made a few strange sounds. Yun Jian, on the other hand, stopped in her tracks and studied old Master Lung with narrowed eyes. "Are you from the Lung family?" Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. "Yes, I am." Master Lung nodded excitedly. Seeing that Master Lung was talking to Yun Jian, Lin Shui was unhappy again. "Grandpa Lung, she's just a swindler. She scared us just now. TSK, we almost thought that she was the legendary goddess of witchcraft. I was wondering how the legendary goddess of witchcraft could look like this." Lin Shui's was talking again. How could the legendary goddess of witchcraft was Lung's heart's eyes? How could it be so exquisite? Lin Shui did not want to admit it, but she had to admit that Yun Jian was beautiful. Lin was so beautiful, even she wanted to tear her face was beautiful. How could there be such a beautiful woman in this world? The goddess of witchcraft was already so powerful. If she also had such a beautiful face, how could they still live? Master Lung ignored Lin Shui's words. At this moment, in front of everyone, Master Lung was looking at Yun Jian with an indescribable excitement. Yun Jian suddenly smiled. She looked at Master Lung and asked again, "Are you from the Lung family who has been guarding the ancient mythical beast Tao Tai in the northern part of the Yulong continent?" Yun Jian's words confused everyone. What did she mean by the northern part of the Yulong continent? What ancient mythical beast Tao Tai? Are you going to say something to make us think that you're the goddess of witchcraft? Let me tell you, we won't believe you. Lin Shui was slightly stunned when she heard that. Then, she quickly reacted and yelled at Yun Jian. However, just when everyone was puzzled, Lin Shui's unpleasant yelling was heard. Old Master Lung, who stood in front of Yun Jian, suddenly knelt down in front of Yun Jian, like a commoner in Yulong mainland, worshipping the sorcerer deity. Goddess of witchcraft. You're really the goddess of witchcraft. 1,000 years ago, when the Lung family was still in the Yulong continent, we were once indebted to you. The Lung family will never forget the teachings of our ancestors. Chapter 1768. The Lung family had the highest status among all the families of the young ladies and young masters present. Of course, it was only limited to the families of the young ladies and young masters present. Not all the families from Yulong mainland sent their children to Meteor Academy to study. Other than the families of the young ladies and young masters, who were studying at the Meteor Aristocratic Academy, who came from the Yulong mainland, there were many other aristocratic families in the southern city of the Jiang province. Of course, the Lung family was the biggest among the families of the students studying in Meteor Academy. Therefore, Lung Yichen was the most popular in Meteor Academy. He was handsome and could be said to be the perfect man in the eyes of these infatuated girls. In the eyes of the students of Meteor Academy, the Lung family was the supreme existence. As the head of the Lung family, Master Lung was undoubtedly the object of everyone's admiration. However, such an object of everyone's admiration was kneeling in front of Yun Jian, who was also a student of Meteor Academy. The surrounding students, including the group of Lung family members behind Master Lung, were all dumbfounded. Grandpa Lung, how can you kneel in front of her? Even if she's really the witch goddess, how can you kneel in front of her? You're an elder. She should be the one kneeling in front of you. Lin Shui was dumbfounded. She never thought that Master Lung would kneel in front of Yun Jian in front of everyone. The people around, including Lin Shui, Lung Yichen, Song Zilin and Gong Shangjin, were all dumbfounded. They thought that the excitement on Master Lung's face when he saw Yun Jian was already shocking enough. However, Master Lung actually knelt in front of Yun Jian. Judging from Master Lung's tone, it seemed that the Lung family had received the witch goddess favor when they were in Yulong mainland. Lin Shui's words were quickly interrupted by Song Zilin. Song Zilin was a smart person. He looked at Lin Shui and coughed twice, then pointed out Lin Shui's words. If she's really the witch goddess, she already existed in this world when our ancestors were still in Yulong mainland. In terms of seniority, Grandpa Lung is indeed younger than her. Song Zilin, Lung Yichen, and Gong Shangjin were good friends and had grown up together. Because aristocratic families interacted with each other, and Lin Shui loved Lung Yichen, Song Zilin often ran into Lin Shui. Song Zilin didn't like Lin Shui, so he couldn't help but interrupt Lin Shui. Song Zilin's words were like a slap to Lin Shui's face. That was right. If Yun Jian was really the witch divinity, her seniority would be much higher than old Master Lung's. As soon as Song Zilin's words fell, Lin Shui's face instantly sank. She looked as if she had eaten dog shit, and her whole person was stupefied on the spot. Yun Jian didn't pay attention to what the people around her were saying. She looked at Master Lung, who was kneeling in front of her, and continued to ask him calmly. The Lung family of the Yulong continent wasn't in a bad situation back then. Why would the Lung family, who had guarded the ancient divine beast Taotai for thousands of years for the Yulong continent, fall to such a state? The Lung family's status and situation in the Yulong continent weren't bad back then, and they were also one of the families that guarded the ancient divine beast. Yun Jian was puzzled because of this. I don't know much about it, but according to the records of our ancestors, ever since the fall of the sorcerer god, a group of mysterious men in black, who were so powerful that no one could stop them, started hunting down all the aristocratic families who were on good terms with the sorcerer tribe. The Lung family was one of them. Back then, the Lung family was hunted down by the mysterious men in black, and only a few of them were left. The few who escaped alive were the ancestors of the Lung family. Master Lung told Yun Jian everything he knew. Mysterious men in black. So, all the aristocratic families that were on good terms with the sorcerer tribe were killed? Yun Jian frowned. Chapter 1769. Under Yun Jian's questioning gaze, old Master Lung nodded. Yes, it's not just the Lung family. Many noble families who were close to the Wu tribe were also killed by the mysterious men in black back then. Old Master Lung had never experienced these things. It was recorded in the Lung family's genealogy. Therefore, his tone was calm when he said that naturally he would not feel the same way. Yun Jian nodded slightly and turned to look at Old Master Lung, who was kneeling in front of her, saying faintly, "You don't have to kneel to me here in the future. I saved the Lung family back then, it was just on the way. You don't have to take it to heart." After that, Yun Jian paused before she added, "Also, you don't have to call me witch goddess when you see me in the future. My name is Yun Jian. You can call me by my name." After Yun Jian said that, she turned to look at Shun Bai, who was dumbfounded from the start, and told her, "Let's go back to the classroom. The class will start soon." Yun Jian's red lips curved into a smile. "Huh. Oh, okay." Shun Bai looked at Lung Yichen blankly before she followed Yun Jian to the classroom, leaving behind the girls who had surrounded Lung Yichen and his friends in a hubbub, but were now stunned speechless by what happened to Yun Jian. Just as Yun Jian took 2 steps toward the classroom, Old Master Lung suddenly called out to her, "Right, witch goddess." Cough. "Yun Jian, our house is not far from the academy. You're welcome to visit anytime." "Amen." Yun Jian hummed softly in reply to Old Master Lung. Yun Jian did not turn around. She was already walking to the classroom side by side with Shun Bai. "TSK, what are you pretending for? This is Earth. This is our territory. So what if she's the witch goddess? She has no power on Earth." Lin Chui was really annoyed at the sight of Yun Jian. She suddenly recalled that they were on Earth now. So what if Yun Jian was the witch goddess of Yulong mainland? When the people of Yulong continent arrived on Earth, they were not allowed to use spiritual energy. Otherwise, they would be punished. In that case, what else did Yun Jian have to show off? What Lin Chui didn't know was that Yun Jian had been on Earth for so many years, and her influence had already developed to the point where any one of them could make Lin Chui's Lin family disappear from this world. If Lin Chui knew, she would definitely not say that. "Chiu Yi, stop talking nonsense." Regardless of whether the sorcerer goddess was her or not, she was still someone that the Lung family respected for generations. Without the sorcerer god, the Lung clan wouldn't exist today. Master Lung usually doted on Lin Chui, but for the sake of the witch god, he disagreed with Lin Chui. "Grandpa Lung, even you are saying that about me." Lin Chui glared back at Yun Jian, who had gone far away in displeasure, before hooking her arm around Old Master Lung's and swinging it coquettishly like a spoiled child. In the classroom, "Sister Death, I didn't know you were so powerful." Shun Bai looked at Yun Jian with admiration. "Go back to your seat." Yun Jian's red lips curled slightly. She didn't reply to Shun Bai, but spoke to Shun Bai instead. Shun Bai's father wanted her to protect Shun Bai, and the descendant of the family who attacked Shun Bai's brother, Shun Xiaocheng, wasn't studying at Meteor Academy. She exposed her identity today because she wanted to blow up this matter as much as possible. This way the fish would take the bait. "Oh." After hearing Yun Jian's words, Shun Bai instinctively returned to her seat. Meteor Academy usually ended school early, at 3:30 p.m. The school ended at the same time. "Ah, look, isn't that our school's hunk, young Master Lung? Ah, why is he in our class? Look, he's actually walking over there. Young Master Lin and young Master Jean are here too. Oh my god, am I dreaming?" Chapter 1770. Yun Jian's eyes narrowed slightly, but she didn't say anything. Instead, she neatly put the 3 textbooks into her bag, zipped it up, and walked in front of Shun Bai. "Death God sister, you packed up so quickly? I just saw you bring back 3 textbooks. Have you finished all the homework the teacher gave us?" Shun Bai tidied up her homework and asked Yun Jian. The students of Meteor Academy were all rich children. Among the people in the school, there weren't many who entered because of good grades. And these rich children who studied in Meteor Academy never did homework. The teachers couldn't control this. There was no one like Shun Bai and Yun Jian who brought their workbooks back. Yun Jian faintly replied to Shun Bai. "Today's homework was very difficult. Death God sister, you actually finished it." As long as they talked about homework, even if Lung Yichen, who she admired, came, she wouldn't pay attention to it. Shenbai was such a good student who loved to study. It's not difficult. If you don't understand, I can teach you. Yunjian's red arc hooked as she indifferently said, Okay. At this time, Shenbai stopped tidying up the homework she brought home and nodded towards Yunjian. Leng Yichen and the other two who were ignored on the side had a long black line in front of their eyes. Especially Leng Yichen. This was the first time someone talked to each other enthusiastically in front of him and ignored his existence. If it was said that when he first saw Shenbai, he couldn't remember her. But now that she was looking for her homework, Shenbai, who used to pursue him enthusiastically, but now acted as if she didn't see him, was very abrupt. So Leng Yichen couldn't help but look at Shenbai a few more times. Hey, this is the first time our young Master Leng has been ignored by a woman. The two of you are really amazing. Gong Shangjin, who always had a sloppy personality, walked in front of Yunjian and Shenbai and said with a smile, Oh, it's you guys. Shenbai finally reacted. Leng Yichen and the other two actually came to her classroom. My grandfather invited the two of you to my house. Especially Yunjian. Leng Yichen, who took off his sunglasses, was quite good-looking. He glanced sideways at Yunjian and said, Wow, really? Shenbai's eyes lit up. At the same time, she hastened to pack her bag. After packing, she hooked an arm around Yunjian and said to Yunjian, Sister Death, let's go together. Since Shenbai wanted to go, Yunjian naturally followed. The Leng family's villa was slightly different from the Shen family's villa. The Leng family's villa was more antique. Walking into the Leng family's villa, Yunjian felt like she had returned to Yulong mainland. In the living room of the Leng family's house, Master Leng saw Yunjian, so he immediately got off the main seat and invited Yunjian to sit in the main seat. You're here. Please take a seat. The main seat was the seat of the most powerful person in the Leng family. Now that Master Leng gave the seat to Yunjian, some people in the Leng family who didn't know Yunjian's identity were dissatisfied. Oh, who is this little girl? What right does she have to sit in the main seat? A sarcastic female voice sounded. The owner of this female voice was a woman in her 40s. Master Leng had 4 sons. The woman who spoke was the wife of Master Leng's eldest son, Xing Lingling. Xing Lingling used to be a selfish woman who would get involved in any matter, no matter how big or small it was. Sister-in-law, don't talk nonsense. I think this little girl looks delicate and pretty, so I like her very much. May I know if you are married? The person who spoke was the wife of Master Leng's second son, Zhang Qiuzi. Zhang Qiuzi was Leng Yichen's mother, and Leng Yichen was the descendant of the second son of the Leng family. Yunjian narrowed her eyes. Just as she was about to speak, a magnetic, rich, and pleasant male voice came from the entrance. His tone was domineering with absolute possessiveness. Once he spoke, everyone in the room was taken aback. Chapter 1771. This pleasant voice made the group of women present, who had guessed that the man's voice was handsome, couldn't help but sit up straight. This included Xing Lingling and Zhang Qiuzi, who had been married for years and had grown children. As long as it was a woman, when she heard this voice, she would not be able to stop herself from fantasizing about the owner of this voice, who was so handsome that even the gods would be enraged. What was more, when Ce appeared at the entrance of the Leng residence's living room and made the women gasp, and the men feel so inferior that they could not bear to look at his face, everyone was stunned. Who is this? He's too handsome. His looks were simply inhumanly handsome. Xing Lingling stared at Ce, who had appeared out of nowhere, and wiped away her drool, swallowing hard. On the other side, Ce, who was inhumanly handsome, was making his way to Yunjian. It was not until Ce came to Yunjian and pulled Yunjian up from the main seat and into his arms that he introduced himself with a satisfied smile. Hello, I'm Xiao Jian's legal husband. Ce enunciated the words legal husband clearly, as if he was afraid that the people present did not know that he and Yunjian were married. If it were not for the inappropriate occasion, Ce would have taken out his marriage certificate again. Cough cough, you're married. Everyone present, including Leng Yichen, Song Zilin and Gong Shangjin, stared at Yunjian in bewilderment, their jaws dropping in bewilderment. "You're married!" Old Master Lung exclaimed in shock as he stared at Yunjian. The witch goddess was married. The news was so overwhelming that Old Master Lung could not process it for a long time. Amen. Yunjian nodded in front of everyone and showed the diamond ring on her ring finger to the crowd. The women around them looked at Yunjian in envy and disbelief. Especially Xing Lingling. Xing Lingling was envious. Why had she not met such a handsome man when she was young? Xing Lingling's husband, who was also the eldest son of the Lung family, had a beer belly. He was not tall nor handsome and reeked of sweat. Xing Lingling was envious of Yunjian, so her gaze on Yunjian became even more hostile. Ce lowered his head slightly, his gaze fixed on Yunjian without straying an inch away. It had been so long since he saw his Xiao Jian. She had gotten thinner again. It was time to nourish herself. How was she going to give birth to a soccer team for him when she was so skinny? Old master, bad news. Third madam is going into labor. Right at this moment, a servant stumbled into the room and shouted at Master Lung. What? She's about to give birth? Master Lung straightened his back in fear and walked out of the room with the others. The third daughter-in-law of the Lung family was pregnant now, so she couldn't leave the room. But she didn't expect that she would suddenly give birth now. The Lung family was in a frenzy. 3 hours later, Ce hugged Yunjian and stood not far away from the Lung family's temporary delivery room. Third Madam Lung's screams and cries of agony came from the delivery room. Ah! 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 She had been screaming for 3 hours from the pain of labor. Her voice was getting softer, as if she had no energy to scream anymore. Is the baby not out yet? Old Master Lung and Old Master Lung were anxious. Not yet. The baby's head isn't even out yet. I'm afraid the baby can't bear to leave the womb. The midwife said as she ordered the servants to continue preparing the items for delivery, and went to the delivery room. Ce twitched his lips and muttered to himself, not a soccer team anymore. Chapter 1772. Yunjian was stunned and didn't immediately understand the meaning behind Ce's words. Shenbai, who was standing to the side, was anxiously listening to the third madam's hoarse cries in the delivery room, and inadvertently overheard Ce's words. Yunjian and the other two could have left first, but the third madam of the Lung family, who was currently giving birth, was a relative of the Shen family. Although she wasn't a direct relative, she still had some contact with the Shen family. In the past, the third madam would bring delicious food and fun things for the Shen family's children. The third madam was very kind, and Shenbai was one of the people who had received the third madam's kindness. Therefore, when the third madam suddenly gave birth, Shenbai naturally didn't want to leave first. Shenbai was also a person who knew how to repay kindness. When she heard Ce's words, Yunjian was slightly stunned. What do you mean by not giving birth to a football team? Yunjian was stunned, but she didn't ask. However, Shenbai, who was standing to the side, heard this and she unconsciously asked on behalf of Yunjian. What's a football team? Is there a football team around here? Why haven't I heard of it? Shenbai's heart was anxious for the third madam, who was still giving birth in the delivery room, so she didn't think when she said this. A child. Ce's eyes were fixed on Yunjian. His tall figure shrouded Yunjian's right side, and he could see the beautiful side of Yunjian's face if he lowered his head slightly. These two words were considered a reply to Shenbai. At this moment, Shenbai didn't hear Ce's words at all. She kept looking at the delivery room with an anxious expression. Lung Yichen, Song Zilin and Gong Shangjin, who were standing to the side, clearly heard Ce's words. A football team equals a child? And Ce just said that he wouldn't give birth to a football team? This meant, could it be that he originally wanted Yunjian to give birth to a football team's child? This was something only a sow could do. Cough, cough, cough. I'm going out to get some fresh air. After Song Zilin understood Ce's words, he couldn't help but cough twice. Then he turned around and dragged Gong Shangjin, who was still unaware of the situation, out of the room. This was truly torturous. They were about the same age, but she had already thought about how many children she would have in the future. Tsk. Lung Yichen didn't go out because his third aunt was still in labor. Yun Jian reacted quickly. Siyi's words, coupled with the reactions of Song Zilin and the others, made Yun Jian's face instantly turn red. Master Lung and the other members of the Lung family, who were standing around, didn't notice them. At this moment, Yun Jian held Siyi's hand and was about to walk out. Is third brother's wife all right? Could it be a difficult birth? Xing Lingling, the eldest daughter-in-law of the Lung family, asked at this time. Before Yun Jian and Siyi could leave, the door of the delivery room was opened. Xing Lingling's jinx came true. The midwife walked out of the delivery room anxiously. Her hands were covered in blood. As soon as the midwife walked out, she said to everyone in a trembling voice, "Hemorrhage, hemorrhage. Third madam is having a difficult birth, and her water has broken. But the child's body hasn't come out yet. What should we do? Master Lung, hurry up and send her to a proper hospital. If it's any later, we can only save one child." The midwife's trembling voice spread throughout the room, but it was an absolute blow to everyone present. WH. What? Difficult birth. Third brother of the Lung family almost fainted when he heard the midwife's words. Then hurry up and send her to the hospital. Hurry. Although Master Lung was also frightened, as the head of the Lung family, he was naturally much calmer. He quickly spoke. Xing Lingling, who was hit by her own jinx, was so scared that she patted her own mouth and didn't dare to speak anymore. Just when everyone present was panicking and didn't know how to deal with the pregnant woman who was still in labor, a calm but heavenly female voice spread throughout the room. Chapter 1773. Right after Yun Jian said that, old Master Lung's eyes that were filled with despair and dejection flashed with a glimmer of hope. The midwife had been prepared a long time ago. The third madam of the Lung family was getting bigger and bigger, and could give birth at any time. So the Lung family had prepared the best midwife. In this era, the hospital technology and equipment were not particularly developed. It was fine if a pregnant woman had a normal delivery, but if she encountered a difficult labor, the chances of survival were almost slim. Of course, the chances of a difficult labor were relatively small, only about 20%. If it was now, if she had a difficult labor, she could immediately be sent to the hospital for a cesarean section. Although there would be a scar on the belly after the delivery, it was better than having her life in danger. In 1999, even if there was something like a cesarean section in this era, few hospitals would carry it out. After all, the technology of a cesarean section was not very good at this time. If they were not careful, it was very likely that both the mother and the child would die. Naturally, the hospital did not dare to try it easily. Therefore, in this era, if there was a difficult labor, unless a cesarean section was performed, which had no chance of success, the chances of survival were really pitifully low. And even if a cesarean section was to be performed, it must be done in a regular hospital under normal circumstances. Obviously, at this juncture, the third madam's situation did not allow for any delay. As soon as Yun Jian finished speaking, Master Lung's eyes lit up again. He knew that as the sorcerer goddess, Yun Jian would never say something that she was not confident about. Hey, are you treating human life as a joke? Xing Lingling, who had cursed the third madam to have a difficult labor just now, heard Yun Jian's words and became smug again. Ever since Yun Jian appeared for the first time, and was invited to the main seat by Master Lung, Xing Lingling hated Yun Jian very much. The main seat was only for the noblest person in the Lung family. Even the first madam of the Lung family, Xing Lingling, had never sat there. Yun Jian was an outsider. How could she? Sister Grim Reaper, we all believe in you. You even saved my brother's life. The third madam treats me very well. You must save her. At this time, Shunbai looked at Yun Jian. She put her hands together and looked at Yun Jian with begging eyes. She saved your brother, Shen Shaoqing? Didn't your brother already declared dead? Lung Yichen stared at Shunbai with wide eyes and asked in astonishment. Big brother is currently recovering. Hearing Lung Yichen's question, Shunbai's cheeks flushed red. Alive? She saved him. Xing Lingling crossed her arms in front of her chest just now. She didn't stop Yun Jian from saving her, but only took the opportunity to mock Yun Jian. It would be best if something happened to third madam and the child in her womb. It would be better if he was dead. Xing Lingling did not care about third madam's life at all. At this moment, after hearing Shen Bai and Leng Yichen's words, Xing Lingling's face was slightly startled. She was clearly frightened. How could a dead person come back to life? Was that for real? At this time, Yun Jian ignored everyone as she walked straight to the delivery room and said indifferently, "Prepare a set of surgical tools for me and perform the C-section immediately." With the Lung family's influence, it was not difficult for them to obtain these tools. Ce stood where he was, watching Yun Jian walk into the delivery room with a gentle gaze. When his Xiao Jian was pregnant with his child in the future, he would definitely capture all the best midwives in the world and have them be on standby for delivery at any time from the day Xiao Jian was pregnant. He would not allow any hint of danger to exist. At this moment, the best midwives in the world were completely unaware that they were being targeted. Moreover, the person who targeted them would bring them home on the first day of his woman's pregnancy. When the doctors found out that this person had done so, they looked like they had eaten dog sh*t. Brother, other people only prepare midwives when the due date is approaching. Why did you prepare all the doctors on the first day of your wife's pregnancy? Chapter 1774. Ce grinned. It was fortunate that he had come to the Lung family to look for Xiao Jian today, and had even seen the third madam of the Lung family giving birth. If it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have known that giving birth was such a painful thing. Thinking about how he had wanted Xiao Jian to give birth to a football team for him, Ce felt like smacking himself to death. He would rather be beaten to death than to let his Xiao Jian suffer so much. Young man, it's hard for a woman to give birth to a child. Back when my first wife was still alive, she was in pain for 4 times and left me 4 children. Sigh. If I had doted on her more back then, I wouldn't have to regret it so much now. Old Master Lung went to Ce and grumbled softly. Then Old Master Lung turned to Ce. Not knowing Ce's identity, Old Master Lung patted Ce's shoulder and said earnestly, "Young man, you have to pamper your wife more in the future. Don't disappoint me." Old Master Lung's earnest words made Ce's eyes light up. "I don't need your reminder," Ce said with a straight face, not even looking at Old Master Lung. Old Master Lung chuckled at that. "That's great. That's great." The witch goddess had a descendant now. Old Master Lung was relieved because he knew that his third madam was absolutely safe with Yun Jian around. Yun Jian would not disappoint Old Master Lung. 2 hours later, a baby's cries were heard and Yun Jian walked out of the delivery room. The midwife's coaxing voice came from the delivery room. Everyone who heard it breathed a sigh of relief. The mother and child are both safe now. Send the mother to the hospital in an hour. The hospital will take care of the following symptoms, Yun Jian said faintly. Even when he knew the outcome, Old Master Lung's tense heart relaxed. Really? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You are the benefactor of our husband and wife. Thank you. When Old Master Lung heard Yun Jian say that his wife's life was no longer in danger and the child was born safely, he rushed over to grab Yun Jian's hand to thank her. Before his hand could touch Yun Jian, however, it was slapped away by a large palm. Ce flung Old Master Lung's hand away and said with a dark face, "Don't touch my woman's hand." Ce said this with a straight face, his cold and handsome demeanor sending a shudder through the third son of the Lung family. In the end, Old Master Lung bowed to Yun Jian from afar and thanked him again. After Madame Yun Jian's family, the Lung family's family Yun Jian. After making sure everything was fine, Yun Jian returned to the Shen family with Shen Bai. Old Master Lung to Yun's a family for a while longer. 4 Yun Jians for him for Yun. She said that she was going to Anhun to look for him. She had said this many times, but Yun Jian never went to Anhun to look for Ce. Although Ce didn't say anything, he was still a little disappointed. It was not Yun Jian's fault though. The time was not up yet. The surprise had to come after the disappointment. Only then would one feel surprised and delighted. As for what Yunjian's surprise was, it wasn't time yet, so it was a secret. When Yunjian and Shenbai returned to the Shen family, they saw Shenwei's worried expression. Yunjian couldn't help but narrow her eyes. "You're back." Shenwei looked at Yunjian with worry and asked. "Yeah, we went to Grandpa Lung's house as guests. Then third madam gave birth, so we came back late," Shenbai explained to Shenwei. It was already 8:30 p.m., so they came back late. Just as Shenbai finished speaking to her father, Shenwei nodded to Shenbai. "Then we'll go do our homework. We won't make it in time." Shenbai turned around and held Yunjian's hand as they ran upstairs. Yunjian, wait, I have something to say to you," Shenwei suddenly called out to Yunjian. "What is it?" Shenbai was stunned. Go back to your room and do your homework," Shenwei urged Shenbai. Okay. If you can't let me hear it, humph." Shenbai pretended to be angry and snorted the word humph. When this humph came out of Shenbai's mouth, it didn't sound like a bad woman's voice. Instead, it sounded cute. Yunjian narrowed her eyes and walked into the study with Shenwei. "Great witch god. Those aristocratic families that colluded with each other to deal with us suddenly sent me an invitation, saying that they want to invite all the aristocratic families to a banquet." Just as they walked into the study, Shenwei cut to the chase and frowned as he spoke to Yunjian. Unexpectedly, when Yunjian heard this, her eyebrows raised slightly. Chapter 1775. Did they invite all the aristocratic families? Yunjian narrowed her eyes and asked Shenwei. "Yes, that includes the Lung family that you went to today." Shenwei answered truthfully. "Agree, we'll go to this banquet." Yunjian suddenly turned her head and looked at Shenwei. Her smile made Shenwei unable to describe how to describe it. Even Shenwei himself didn't know when he became Yunjian's subordinate. Now the entire Shen family was under Yunjian's control. "Yes," Shenwei nodded. Shenwei had mentioned before that many of the students studying in Meteor Aristocratic Academy were the descendants of aristocratic families. Now there was a very common phenomenon. The aristocratic families of the students studying in Meteor Aristocratic Academy were generally the same as Shenwei's Shen family. They didn't associate themselves with those aristocratic families. As for those aristocratic families, they all sent their children to a place called Dark Aristocratic Academy to study. Meteor Aristocratic Academy, Dark Aristocratic Academy. The families of the former students were all on the Shen family's side. The families of the latter students were all in cahoots with those aristocratic families. "If you don't cooperate with our aristocratic families, we'll kill your aristocratic families." Therefore, there was such a saying before. Which side these aristocratic families stood on depended on which academy they sent their children to study in. Currently, it seemed that the aristocratic families of the students studying in Dark Aristocratic Academy were generally stronger than the Shen and Lung families. Therefore, Shenwei's son, Shen Xiaocheng, was clearly framed by those aristocratic families who wallowed in the mire. But in order to protect the entire Shen family, Shenwei forcibly endured it. On Friday, Meteor Aristocratic Academy was on holiday. Many aristocratic families' children were sent to Dark Aristocratic Academy. This time, the aristocratic families that were hostile to the Shen and Lung families set the banquet at Dark Aristocratic Academy. The theme of this banquet was a masquerade ball. Apart from the aristocratic families' children who could participate, all the Meteor and Dark Aristocratic Academy's children, who weren't from aristocratic families, could also participate. Naturally, they had to dress up before going. Shenbai didn't know the danger of this banquet. She was like an innocent little girl, choosing her favorite dress and carefully dressing herself up. Yunjian wore a black evening gown that showed off her figure. This exquisite evening gown outlined her perfect figure incisively and vividly. Even from afar, one would be attracted by this perfect figure. This black evening dress was actually a very ordinary dress, but when Yunjian wore it, there was an indescribable sense of nobility. Many people were already present when he entered the Dark Noble Academy's masquerade ball. Yunjian and Shenbai each put on a mask and walked into the crowd. At the scene of the masquerade ball, 3 middle-aged men were holding wine glasses in the distance. They were not wearing masks and were chatting with each other. These three people were the three most powerful and influential families among the clans that wallowed in the mire. They were the Zhu family, the Lan family, and the Mo family. Among the three aristocratic families, the Lan clan was the most important. Just as Yun Jian narrowed her eyes, Shenbai suddenly pulled on Yun Jian's arm and shouted, "It's them! It's them! Let's go quickly!" Chapter 1776. It's you too. The moment he saw Yun Jian and Shenbai walk over, Song Ziling quickly recognized the masked Yun Jian and Shenbai. He happily waved at Yun Jian and Shenbai. "For the matter 2 days ago, I thank you on behalf of Third Aunt." Even Leng Yichen, who always had a cold appearance, nodded towards Yun Jian. Yun Jian also very indifferently nodded. Leng Yichen and the other two were all wearing masks and looked like young masters in their youth. Yichen, so you're here." At this time a very loud voice sounded. Yun Jian didn't need to look to know that the owner of this voice was Lin Qiui, who had sprayed her and Shenbai with water spray at Meteor Academy. When she saw Yun Jian and Shenbai, Lin Qiui, who was also wearing a mask, immediately recognized Yun Jian and Shenbai. "It's you guys. Why are you guys here?" This was Lin Qiui's first reaction. When she saw Yun Jian's perfect figure, that made people jealous wrapped in this unremarkable black evening gown, Lin Qiui's jealousy rose to the extreme. Just as Lin Qiui fiercely glared at Yun Jian's eyes suddenly lit up. She reached out and grabbed Shenbai, then turned a small circle to the left to dodge. A jet of bright red liquid sprayed in the air like a fountain and flew past where Yun Jian and Shenbai were standing at a speed that was visible to everyone, heading straight for Lin Qiui, who was standing right in front of the spot where Yun Jian and Shenbai were standing just now. This was the trajectory of a glass of red wine. And this uncontrollable glass of red wine just happened to spill on Lin Qiui's evening gown. Lin Qiui's evening gown was white, but with this spill, one part of it instantly turned red. Seeing this, Lin Qiui's face turned green. Not far away, the 16 or 17-year-old girl, who purposely poured red wine on Yun Jian, saw that she poured it on the wrong person. But she didn't show any signs of remorse. "What are you doing?" Lin Qiui exclaimed when she saw the girl pouring red wine on herself. The person I want to knock down isn't you. Who allowed you to stand there?" The 16 or 17-year-old girl raised her head and glared at Lin Qiui righteously. Now Lin Qiui knew that she had become Yun Jian's scapegoat. "Why did you dodge just now? You did it on purpose, didn't you?" Lin Qiui roared at Yun Jian again. Yun Jian ignored her. Lin Qiui was so angry that she glared angrily at the 16 or 17-year-old girl. She said fiercely, "Which aristocratic family are you from? Do you want to die? Who's the one courting death?" "I'm from the Long clan, and my father is the patriarch of the Long clan. Do you believe that I'll get my father to exterminate all of you?" The 16 or 17-year-old girl sneered at Lin Qiui. This young girl's name is Lan Biqing. She is the young lady of the Lan family. The Lan family was the largest aristocratic family in the southern part of the Jiang province. Lin Qiui's Lin family was nothing compared to the Lan clan. So when she heard Lan Biqing's words, Lin Qiui was so scared that she shrank back. Seeing this, Lan Biqing turned to look at Yun Jian smugly. She saw Yun Jian's slim figure and thought that she was too beautiful. So, she could not help but come over to fix her. She did not expect that she would be the wrong person. Lan Biqing thought that she would be able to see the fear on Yun Jian's face after she revealed her identity. However, Lan Biqing was disappointed. Yun Jian was not flustered at all. Instead, she crossed her arms and looked at her. Seeing this, Lan Biqing was furious. Just as Lan Biqing was about to do something to Yun Jian, the scene suddenly quieted down. On the stage, the patriarch of the Lan clan, Lan Hongtian, who was also Lan Biqing's father, was standing there. He gestured for the crowd to quiet down. Lan Hongtian's power was overwhelming. So, the crowd immediately quieted down and did not dare to say a word. Then Lan Hongtian's voice rang out. "The reason I'm holding a masquerade party here today is to let everyone enjoy themselves." Chapter 1777. Whether it was the students of Meteor Academy or Dark Academy, they all knew about the existence of the Yulong continent, and the legends of the Sorcerer God, and the Lord God. Of course, these rumors were spread by the young masters and ladies of the aristocratic families. Of course, if the ordinary students who were studying in the academy heard these young ladies and young masters, from aristocratic families, spread the bizarre news, that there was a Xiuxian continent called Yulong continent in addition to Earth, it was another matter, whether the ordinary students believed it or not. Because of this, when the head of the Lan family, Lan Hongtian, stood on the stage and spoke to everyone below, everyone pricked up their ears to listen. Especially those who did not know about the incident at Meteor Academy, where Yun Jian admitted that she was the sorcerer god. In the past, they had only heard of the legendary story of the sorcerer god of the Yulong continent. In their hearts, the sorcerer god was like an ordinary person seeing a god. It was an impossible figure. But at this moment, the head of the Lan family, Lan Hongtian, actually said in front of everyone that there was a young lady who claimed to be the sorcerer god of the sorcerer tribe of the Yulong continent. This was like standing on the street, and suddenly someone claimed to be a fairy who came down from the heavens. It was unbelievable. But one thing that they had to admit was that what Lan Hongtian said just now really attracted the attention of everyone present. At this moment, all the students had the same thought. They wanted to see who the young lady who claimed to be the sorcerer god was. What did she look like? Was this matter true or not? After Lan Hongtian's voice fell, the dance hall was silent. Yun Jian's red arc was slightly raised. She did not stand out even though she was called out. This was a masquerade ball. Everyone around was wearing masks. Even if Yun Jian did not stand out, no one would recognize her. That is too much. The legendary sorcerer god is the existence of the Yulong continent. He is the object of our aristocratic family's admiration and admiration. How could such a powerful person appear here? It's obvious that the young lady who claimed to be the sorcerer god is another ghost impersonator. Seeing his father Lan Hongtian say this in front of so many people, Lan Biqing couldn't help but ridicule him. How could such a noble person like the sorcerer god appear on earth? This, cough. Not necessarily. Song Zilin touched his nose and complained in a low voice. Why not? A person of such high status like the sorcerer god would never appear here. Lan Biqing's voice was loud and confident. Cough. Song Zilin glanced at him and rubbed his nose. He ignored Lan Biqing. Why couldn't he appear here? Isn't the sorcerer god standing right in front of you right now? And it's the person you didn't like just now. Song Zilin didn't say it out loud. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and looked at Lan Hongtian, who was standing on the stage. Yun Jian had just shifted her gaze to Lan Hongtian, who was standing on the stage when Lan Biqing's aggressive voice rang out again. What are you looking at? No matter how much you look, the sorcerer god that my father is talking about is definitely not you. The people around him were all looking at the stage. Lan Biqing pretended not to see anything. Yun Jian looked at that pair of eyes on the stage, but Lan Biqing was aggressive. She could imagine that Lan Biqing wanted to pour the red wine on Yun Jian, because he was jealous of Yun Jian's beauty. She couldn't help but sigh. Yun Jian's beauty came from inside out. Even if she didn't show her face, she could make girls jealous to death just by looking at her back. Just as Lan Biqing's voice fell, a rather pleasant male voice rang out. Biqing, you're here? When I heard your voice, I knew it was you. When the male voice fell, Yun Jian glanced over. She saw two masked boys standing in front of her. One look, and you could tell that their status wasn't low. The one who spoke was the shorter one on the right, and the one on the left didn't say anything. Beside the two boys stood a large group of young boys and girls. When Lan Biqing saw the boy on the left who didn't say anything, his eyes lit up. He shouted excitedly at the boy who didn't say anything. Brother Shiling, you're here. It took me a long time to find you. As he spoke, Lan Biqing glared at Yun Jian. He looked like he was showing off that he was very familiar with this boy. He pounced on the boy who was called Brother Shiling. Mo Shiling, the recognized genius of the Mo family. Chapter 1778. Lan Biqing said as he flew in front of Mo Xiling and grabbed her hand. Mo Xiling said softly. Different from Lung Yichen's indifference, Mo Xiling was the kind of person who ignored strangers and only cared about acquaintances. Biqing Mimi, I was the one who called you, but you called your brother Xiling's name. My heart hurts. Standing next to Mo Xiling, the boy who called for Lan Biqing just now put his hand over his heart and pretended to be heartbroken. The boy standing next to Mo Xiling was the young master of the Zhu family, named Zhu Bufan. Mo Xiling and Zhu Bufan were the school hunks of the Dark Noble Academy. Their status was about the same as Lung Yichen's group in the Meteor Noble Academy. But in comparison, Mo Xiling and Zhu Bufan's status was higher than Lung Yichen's group. Brother Bufan, don't make fun of me. Lan Biqing immediately acted like a little girl. The Lan family, Mo family, and Zhu family were the three leading families in the Dark Noble Academy. Their status was not something that the Shen family and Lung family could compare to, and Mo Xiling was the strongest in the younger generation among all the aristocratic families. She was also known as the strongest youth. The group of boys and girls standing next to him were all young masters and young ladies of the aristocratic families who were on good terms with the Lan family, Mo family, and Zhu family. Therefore, they all greeted Lan Biqing. Lan Biqing felt that he had a lot of face in front of Yun Jian and this group of people. He knew so many people, and each one of them was an elite youth. And Yun Jian and this group of people were a bit like country bumpkins entering the city. The more Lan Biqing thought about it, the prouder he became. He didn't know where this arrogance came from. Biqing Mimi, these people are? At this time Zhu Bufan, who was smiling mischievously, locked his eyes on the group led by Yun Jian and asked Lan Biqing. A group of people who think they are great. I don't know if they are from aristocratic families. Lan Biqing looked at Yun Jian and the others with contempt. Especially when he looked at Yun Jian, Lan Biqing glared at Yun Jian. There was a strong sense of mockery in his words. In the eyes of Lan Biqing and the others, if they were not from the aristocratic families, then they were just ordinary people. It was like a person with a net worth of over 100 million seeing someone with a net worth of over 1 million. Sister Biqing, don't say that. Since we're all here, we're all friends. Zhu Bufan said, but pride was inevitable. Among all the people present, Lan Biqing, Mo Xiling and Zhu Bufan's Lan family, Mo family and Zhu family had the highest status. Even Lung Yichen's Lung family couldn't compare. Therefore, the pride in Zhu Bufan's words was understandable. At this time, Lan Hongtian, who had been waiting on the stage for a long time without a reply, smiled awkwardly. It seems that the girl who claims to be the sorcerer goddess doesn't want to go on stage now. Haha, this Lan understands. After the masquerade ball is over, this Lan will invite you up again. Lan Hongtian's words meant that he would not give up until he saw the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess. These words were also directly telling Yun Jian that if you don't show up today, don't even think about leaving. In this regard, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes slightly. After Lan Hongtian's words fell, the masquerade ball began. The music in the ballroom suddenly sounded. This was a masquerade ball. Naturally, the boys invited the girls to dance with the music. At this time, Zhu Bufan, who looked delicate and pretty, walked in front of Yun Jian. In front of everyone, he stretched out his hand to Yun Jian and invited her. Miss, what's your name? Do you want to dance with me? Zhu Bufan and Mo Xiling were the school hunks of the Dark Noble Academy and were very popular. Even if they were wearing masks, many girls around could recognize them. Therefore, after Zhu Bufan's voice fell, the girls around immediately screamed like crazy. Wow, who's that girl? Why did Master Fan invite her to dance? God, I'm so envious. Master Fan is so handsome. If only I were that girl. Zhu Bufan was the young master of the Zhu family. He had a high status and good looks. However, just this status alone was enough to make the girls go crazy and scream. At this time, everyone was envious of Yun Jian. Just when everyone thought that Yun Jian would be so excited that she would immediately agree to Zhu Bufan's invitation, they saw Yun Jian with her arms crossed in front of her chest. She had no intention of extending her hand at all. Yun Jian stood in place and sneered at Zhu Bufan in front of everyone. Chapter 1779. Lan family, Mo family and Zhu family had the highest status. Mo family was second only to Lan family because of Mo Xiling. Although Zhu family's status was lower than Lan family and Mo family, Zhu family's status was ranked third among all the families in the entire ballroom. As the future heir of Zhu family, except for Mo Xiling, Zhu Bufan was undoubtedly the ideal partner in the hearts of many girls. But just now, Zhu Bufan was the ideal partner in the hearts of many girls. Among the younger generation, except for Mo Xiling, he was the most outstanding one. He was also the school hunk of the Dark Aristocrat Academy and had a high status. But Yun Jian said that he was a waste whose strength was not as good as hers? Just the fact that Yun Jian refused to dance with Zhu Bufan was enough to surprise everyone present. Who was Zhu Bufan? He was the school hunk of the Dark Aristocrat Academy. Other girls were rushing to have a relationship with Zhu Bufan. But this girl, she actually refused Zhu Bufan's invitation to dance. That was fine, but she actually said that Zhu Bufan was a waste? One had to know that in addition to the genius of the Mo family, Mo Xiling, the strongest among the younger generation was Zhu Bufan. What? Waste, who are you talking about? Even Zhu Bufan himself was confused for a moment before he asked. Naturally, I'm talking about you. Yun Jian sneered. She stood in front of the long table where the pastries were placed. She lazily picked up a piece of osmanthus cake from the long table and threw it into the air. She opened her mouth and threw it into her mouth. Dancing at a masquerade ball was not as good as eating a few pieces of pastries. You actually said that Brother Bufan is a waste? I think you are the waste. Do you have any shame? How can there be such a shameless woman like you in this world? After listening to Yun Jian's words, Lan Biqing, who had not had a chance to scold Yun Jian, was stunned. In front of everyone, he stretched out his hand and shouted at Yun Jian. Too much. Even Mo Xiling, who had been silent, frowned and said such a sentence. Mo Xiling's words were like an imperial edict in the eyes of the girls. That's right. How can you be so excessive? Even young Master Ling said that you've gone too far. How could a girl like her be invited to tonight's masquerade ball? Get the hell out of here. We don't welcome you. Exactly. You're not welcome here. Get out of here. Immediately, the surrounding girls began to curse in unison. Mo Xiling had always regarded himself as aloof. Because of his outstanding strength, he hardly spoke, giving people a feeling of being aloof and difficult to get along with. How can a girl like you be so annoying? No one welcomes you. Hurry up and leave this place. Seeing this, Lan Biqing stood up and said a lot of things. She only said one sentence, how can you do this? Hearing this, Shunbai couldn't help but stand up for Yun Jian. Just as Shunbai finished speaking, Lan Biqing and the surrounding girls bombarded Shunbai with words. Who are you to her? Ha ha ha, you're still speaking up for her. Very impressive. You also get out of the ball with us. Among these girls, it was unknown who took the lead, but they all helped Lan Biqing to curse Shunbai, who spoke up for Yun Jian. Just as the cursing of the group of people present was extremely loud and unpleasant to listen to, Yun Jian slightly frowned. You guys are very noisy. Yun Jian's indifferent words came out of her mouth. Isn't that because you're too much? You actually said that our young master fan is a waste. You're the waste. You. When these girls heard this, they became even more enthusiastic. Just as this group of girls opened their mouths and chattered, Yun Jian, who had her hands on the pastry table, suddenly stretched out her hands and picked up more than 10 pieces of pastry on the table. In front of everyone, she directly threw the pastry out. These more than 10 pieces of pastry could be clearly seen in front of everyone's eyes, flying to more than 10 different places. In front of everyone, they blocked the mouths of more than 10 girls who were standing at different angles. All the voices stopped in an instant. Seeing this, Mo Xiling and Zhu Bufan, as well as everyone present, were all shocked. Chapter 1780. There were a few girls who scolded the loudest. When they were scolding Yun Jian, their mouths were the biggest. This small piece of pastry flew directly into the mouths of the girls who scolded the loudest. The girls couldn't control themselves and swallowed the unchewed pastry along with their saliva. These dozens of pieces of pastry successfully blocked the mouths of the girls who were scolding Yun Jian. Yun Jian's words just now made the girls whose mouths were blocked by Yun Jian terrified. It also made Mo Xiling, Zhu Bufan and Lan Biqing, who was blocked by the pastry, feel a chill down their spine. More than a dozen pieces of pastry were thrown together. And when throwing, one had to pay attention to the different frequency and speed of these girls' mouths. Only then could all the pastry be thrown into the mouths of these girls. Yun Jian's move just now made everyone present tremble. Moreover, she had merely narrowed her eyes and tossed out the pastries, as if she was just throwing a few ordinary items. This successfully blocked the mouths of the girls. This throwing technique, how accurate must it be to be able to do this? And Yun Jian's last sentence completely shocked everyone present. What did she mean by, "You should be glad that I threw out a pastry and not a blade"? Thinking about it carefully, it really was like this. If Yun Jian had thrown a razor blade, and not a pastry just now, she would have been fine. Then the girls who didn't spit out the pastry and swallowed it directly, wouldn't they be scared? So scared that their whole body was trembling in panic. All the girls present, including Lan Biqing, were trembling in fear at this moment. God, that speed just now, it's too scary. The bystanders who saw the scene just now were so scared that they screamed. Mo Xiling, who was known as the strongest teenager, also darkened her face in an instant. No one knew better than Mo Xiling how terrifying Yun Jian's move was. Not to mention whether he could do it or not. Even if he had to throw 3 pieces of pastries into the mouths of 3 girls, who were clicking their tongues at the same time, he would never be able to do it. Not to mention that Yun Jian had thrown out more than a dozen pastries. Zhu Bufan was also given a fright. Lin Qiui, who had always been against Yun Jian, was so scared that she took 2 steps back. She swore in her heart that she would never dare to provoke Yun Jian again. Lung Yichen and the other 2 were a little calmer, but they couldn't hide the shock in their hearts. You, are you trying to be mysterious again? Don't think that your move just now is very powerful. I tell you, my brother Xiling can also do it. No, he's even better than you. Lan Biqing accidentally swallowed the pastry. When she finally regained her senses, she glared fiercely at Yun Jian and said those words. Yun Jian did not pay attention to what Lan Biqing said after that. She only smiled coldly. It was a mocking smile. After laughing, she reached out to pick up the pastry on the long table and put it in her mouth to chew gently. The venue of this masquerade party was not very good, but the pastries were not bad. Halfway through the masquerade party, the head of the Lan family, Lan Hongtian, stood on the stage again. He held a microphone in his hand, glanced at the audience and smiled. Hey, the girl who claims to be the witch god. You still don't want to come out? Guess who I've brought to you? After that, a girl in black was brought to the stage. The girl was covered in blood and looked like she had been beaten many times. Chapter 1781. Lan Hongtian's words spread throughout the scene. Obviously, from the moment Lan Hongtian appeared, he held the microphone in his hand and asked everyone to gather with the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess. He was confident that he could force Yun Jian out. Of course, the premise was that the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess was indeed the sorcerer goddess of Yulong Continent. If she was not the sorcerer goddess of Yulong Continent, even if Lan Hongtian brought out his trump card, this girl from the sorcerer tribe, it would be useless. Of course, if she was not the real sorcerer goddess of the sorcerer tribe, then even if the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess appeared, it would be useless to Lan Hongtian. That's right, Lan Hongtian wanted to use this girl to threaten Yun Jian. The premise of all this was that Yun Jian was really the sorcerer goddess of the sorcerer tribe. When they saw him covered in blood, his black clothes had been whipped into tatters, and there were bloodstains all over his body. Everyone present was in an uproar. This girl from the sorcerer tribe was very beautiful and looked very fresh. The legendary sorcerer tribe was basically all female, and all of them were very fresh and beautiful. The legendary sorcerer tribe was a place where beauties were born. The girl on the stage revealed a pair of fair thighs. Although it covered her important parts, her beauty made everyone present take a deep breath. Yunjian's eyes sized up the girl on the stage. When she saw the girl's appearance, she raised her eyebrows slightly. There were so many girls in the sorcerer tribe. Naturally, she could not recognize all of them. However, as long as they were from the sorcerer tribe, the aura they exuded could not be wrong. This girl was indeed from the sorcerer tribe. Yunjian's nonchalant gaze turned sharp at once. Murderous intent appeared. That girl was caught. Why are you angry? This is not your problem. Do you still think of yourself as the sorcerer goddess of the sorcerer tribe? Lan Biqing, who saw the change in Yunjian's expression, said angrily. Mo Xiling, Zhu Bufan, and everyone present looked at Yunjian. However, in the next second, Yunjian did not even look at Lan Biqing and walked towards the stage. She really thinks of herself as the sorcerer god. Let's see how long she can be stubborn for. Lan Biqing had yet to react. Could she be the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess? Seeing Yunjian walk to the front of the stage and jump onto it with ease, Zhu Bufan suddenly came to a realization and shouted loudly. This time, the attention of Lan Biqing, Mo Xiling, Lin Qiui, Shen Bai and Leng Yichun, as well as everyone present, was drawn over. However, Yunjian, who had jumped onto the stage, met the eyes of the Lan family's patriarch, Lan Hongtian, in front of everyone's dumbfounded gazes and said, "For thousands of years, you are the first person who dared to capture a member of the shaman tribe right under my nose." Yunjian's words caused an uproar. She really is the girl who called herself the sorcerer goddess. You are the sorcerer goddess of Yulong mainland. Lan Hongtian looked at Yunjian and was shocked by her aura. This battle formation. It can't be wrong. She must really be the sorcerer goddess of Yulong mainland. There really is a Yulong mainland in this world. There really is a sorcerer goddess. Lan Hongtian laughed a few times and then suppressed the girl from the shaman tribe. He placed the knife on the girl's neck and ordered Yunjian, "Listen up. You must listen to my orders in the future. Otherwise I will kill her." This threat made Yunjian's lips curl into a beautiful red arc. In front of everyone, Yunjian walked toward Lan Hongtian and the suppressed girl from the shaman tribe without fear. She said something coldly that made everyone present go crazy. "Since you know that I am the sorcerer goddess of the shaman tribe, then you should know my principles." "What principles?" Lan Hongtian heard this and took a deep breath and asked. Yunjian, who was standing on the stage, flipped her right hand in front of everyone, and a knife that made all the aristocratic families stand up straight appeared. God-vanquishing blade. That knife was the God-vanquishing knife. The God-vanquishing knife had only appeared in the books recorded by their ancestors. It was said that even the people of Yulong mainland regarded this knife as a legendary weapon. Before the aristocratic families could react, Yunjian, who was holding the butterfly knife of the God-vanquishing knife, slowly walked toward Lan Hongtian with the knife in her hand. Her smile was so strange that it made everyone present shudder. "Listen up. I am the daughter of the shaman tribe. The principles of the sorcerer goddess are..." Chapter 1782. At this moment, Yunjian seemed to be a different person compared to the original Yunjian. The Yunjian who first appeared in front of Lan Biqing, Mo Xiling, Zhu Bufan and the others was wearing a mask from the masquerade party. She gave people a very mysterious feeling, but just looking at her figure gave people a feeling of extreme beauty. At that time, Yunjian really looked like a little girl who came to attend the banquet pure and moving. But throwing away that pure aura, at this moment, Yunjian gave people the feeling that she was the king of the jungle. Although she was wearing a mask, her words just now coupled with her flamboyant figure at this moment. At this moment, Yunjian was like a god who controlled killing. Seeing her like this, Lan Biqing and the group of girls who were against her at the beginning were stunned, and it made Mo Xiling and Zhu Bufan's hearts beat violently. So domineering, so arrogant. So arrogant. Yun Jian's arrogant look just now, not to mention the most outstanding genius of the younger generation, Mo Xiling, would not dare to do so. Mo Xiling was afraid that she did not even have the courage to look straight into the eyes of the Lan family's head, Lan Hongtian. Therefore, Mo Xiling and Zhu Bufan, who wanted to tease Yun Jian at the beginning, did not look particularly good. Sorcerer God! Sorcerer God! Sorcerer God! At this moment, the Shen family, who was standing not far away, joined forces with the Lung family and all the other families who fought against the Lan family, and shouted at Yun Jian on the stage. Standing on the stage, Yun Jian heard the shouts, and naturally knew that these shouts must have been organized by Shen Wei. If they did not fight against the Lan family, and this group of families who colluded with each other, when would they? What's more, they had the support of the sorcerer god. Shen Wei was not stupid and naturally understood this point. Yun Jian did not respond. At this moment, her eyes were red as she walked in the direction of Lan Hongtian, who was suppressing the witch tribe girl. When the people of Yulong continent came to Earth, they had no spiritual power, but if they used it forcibly, they could still use spiritual power, but they had to pay a price. However, Yun Jian could tell that the young witch girl, who was covered in wounds from the beatings, had no spiritual energy left in her body. He had heard from Shen Wei that the Lan family had gathered together because they wanted to rush back to the Yulong continent one day and attempt to rule the Yulong continent. Therefore, since a few hundred years ago, the Lan family had been researching a potion that could make the people of the Yulong continent lose their spiritual power. And now the experiment was a success. Needless to say, this young lady from the sorcerer tribe had been drugged with this potion. Hence, even if she was in the Yulong continent, she would not be able to use her spiritual energy. Lan Hongtian captured the young girl from the witch tribe. This action made Yun Jian very angry. What angered Yun Jian even more was that Lan Hongtian had not only captured the young women from the sorcerer tribe, he had also tortured and beaten the young women from the sorcerer tribe. With the god-vanquishing blade in her hand, Yun Jian walked towards Lan Hongtian without stopping. Seeing the god-vanquishing blade in Yun Jian's hand, Lan Hongtian, who was holding the blade against the young woman from the sorcerer tribe's neck, was frightened. He threw away the blade and stepped on the young woman from the sorcerer tribe mercilessly. He then fished out a bottle of potion from his body. Since you won't listen to me, I won't hold back either. You should have heard of this potion. As long as I sprinkle it on the people of the Yulong continent, you will immediately lose your spiritual energy. So what if you are the sorcerer god? You must listen to me. Lan Hongtian took out his trump card. He looked at Yun Jian and shouted. The crowd below the stage, including the people from the Shen family who were shouting just now, felt their hearts tighten. That potion, it would make the sorcerer god lose his spiritual energy. Could it be that the sorcerer god was being threatened just like that? Just as they were thinking about it, they saw Yun Jian laugh coldly. She did not stop, but continued to walk towards Lan Hongtian. You. Looks like you are stubborn. I won't hold back then. After Lan Hongtian finished speaking, he opened the cap of the potion and sprinkled it on Yun Jian's body. Oh no, quickly dodge. Shen Wei was so frightened that his expression changed drastically. Everyone below the stage was stunned. Just as the potion was sprinkled on Yun Jian's body, they saw Yun Jian's figure flash. Her speed suddenly became as fast as thunder. In a breath's time, she appeared in front of Lan Hongtian from 5 meters away. The god-vanquishing blade stabbed into Lan Hongtian's heart in front of everyone at a speed that Lan Hongtian did not even have time to react. In the next second, Yun Jian pulled out her blade and kicked Lan Hongtian off the stage before he could react. Just as the crowd was so frightened that their backs straightened, Yun Jian's cold voice rang out a second before Lan Hongtian closed his eyes and stopped breathing. Chapter 1783. In the eyes of these aristocratic families, other than the sorcerer goddess of Yulong mainland, the internationally renowned slaying god was also a person that these aristocratic families and the people present had heard of. Yun Jian's last sentence, kosher mercenaries, slaying god, made it clear to those who did not know who slaying god was. Who else could slaying god of kosher mercenaries be? Other than slaying god, who was ranked first on the international secret agent ranking, who else belonged to kosher mercenaries? Many of the students present might not know who slaying god of kosher mercenaries was, but these aristocratic families' children had been educated by their families since young. They were very familiar with slaying god of kosher mercenaries. This was a terrifying existence that they did not dare to provoke. Therefore, when Yunjian finished speaking, everyone present, especially Lan Biqing, Imo Shieling and Zhu Bufan, including the group of girls who had mocked and ridiculed Yunjian, and were aggressive toward Yunjian like a machine gun. In the end, Yunjian sealed their mouths with pastries. Everyone's pupils contracted, their faces were tense, and their mouths were agape. The moment Lan Hongtian closed his eyes, he heard Yunjian's voice. It was too late for regrets. The potion that the Lan family had planned for hundreds of years, and spent so much manpower and energy to develop, was ineffective against the sorcerer goddess. And she was slaying god, ranked first on the secret agent ranking in the country. Even if Yunjian had lost her spiritual power, with the Lan family's power, forget about capturing Yunjian. The entire Lan family would have been annihilated. And now the Lan family was done for. Completely done for. He was also done for. The Lan family's years of hard work were all gone after he had wronged Yunjian. In that instant, countless emotions flashed through everyone's mind. 3 seconds later, Lan Hongtian was kicked off the stage. Fresh blood spurted out from his heart, and drew an arc in the air. Lan Hongtian was brutally smashed to the ground, and died a tragic death. For those who were stabbed by the god-vanquishing blade, even the gods of deity continent would have their souls destroyed, let alone humans. Lan Hongtian's soul was destroyed. He could not escape. The families who were in cahoots with Lan Hongtian shrank back when they saw Lan Hongtian being stabbed to death by Yunjian and kicked off the stage. Even the masters of the Mo family and Zhu family, who were in cahoots with the Lan family, did not dare to step forward. The Lan family's patriarch, Lan Hongtian, had committed countless atrocities. In order to develop that bottle of medicine, he had captured thousands of innocent people and killed them for experiments. Since they could not capture people from the Yulong continent, they could only capture ordinary people from Earth. A bottle of potion was very corrosive to ordinary people. As long as a failed product was sprinkled on an ordinary person, that person would be corroded alive and die. Therefore, the God experiment was a person. The Lan family's master was Lan Slin. God vanquish Lan Shenwei had long been annoyed by Lan Hongtian's actions of harming the innocent. However, Lan Hongtian and his group were powerful. He could not do anything about them. Now that he saw Yunjian killing such a heinous person in the form of his soul being destroyed, Shenwei immediately took the lead to call out to Yunjian. Sorcerer goddess. Sorcerer goddess. When Lan Biqing realized that his father had been killed by Yunjian, and was about to rush over, the families who were in cahoots with the Lan family had already retreated with their people. The Mo family and Zhu family retreated quickly when they saw this. However, before they could leave, Lan Su, Gu Nianji, and Qingyu came from afar with a large group of people and surrounded the place. Although the Mo family and Zhu family were afraid of Yunjian, they did not recognize Lan Su, and the other two when they saw Lan Su, and the other two surrounding the place. Therefore, the Mo family's master shouted at Lan Su, trying to scare Lan Su away from his voice. Who are you? Just as the Mo family's master finished speaking, Lan Su's voice, which was no less loud than the Mo family's master's, rang out. Chapter 1784. Lan Su. You mean Lan Su, the first guardian of the sorcerer goddess in our ancestors' records? The daughter of the sorcerer tribe's sorcerer goddess, who is second only to the sorcerer goddess in Yulong mainland? Just as Lan Su finished speaking, Master Mo and Master Zhu, who were standing beside Master Mo, exclaimed in shock. The sorcerer goddess was also a person who was recorded in great detail in the family records of these noble families' ancestors. When the sorcerer goddess was mentioned, Lan Su, as the first guardian of the sorcerer goddess, was also emphasized. It was true that the sorcerer goddess was the pinnacle of existence in Yulong mainland. As the first guardian of the sorcerer goddess, Lan Su's position was also top-notch in Yulong mainland. What? Our ancestors migrated from Yulong mainland hundreds and thousands of years ago, and we've never seen anyone from Yulong mainland until now. Why are there so many of them here now? And they're all the legendary figures in Yulong mainland. The Mo family head, who had been shouting at Lan Su and trying to use his loud voice to suppress Lan Su, narrowed his eyes at this moment. He suddenly became timid and didn't even dare to speak loudly. Lan Su, Gu Nianji, and Qing Yu walked toward Yun Jian after getting people to surround the scene. Then, under everyone's watchful eyes, Lan Su and Gu Nianji bowed to Yun Jian the way Yulong mainland greeted the sorcerer goddess. Sorcerer goddess? Yun Jian raised a brow. Since she had been wearing a mask since the beginning, everyone could only see her slim and well-proportioned figure, but not her face. Yun Jian had openly exposed her identity today, because she was wearing a mask. With so many people present, it was impossible for two students from aristocratic schools to use a 3-hour amnesia serum. The cost was high. If everyone were to use it, Qing Yu would probably chase her all over the streets. Clean up the scene. Take care of all the noble families who have harmed people with the Lan family as the leader. Yulong mainland doesn't need these noble families who have harmed people. Yun Jian's voice, which was as beautiful as the sounds of nature, rang out and spread to every corner of the place. Hearing this, all the people who were in cahoots with the Lan family were paralyzed. It's over. Not only was the Lan family finished, all the other aristocratic families were finished as well. Yes, Lan Su, Gu Nianji, and Qing Yu acknowledged the order and nodded at Yun Jian. Yun Jian handed the task of dealing with these aristocratic families to Lan Su and the other two. At that moment, Yun Jian turned her head slightly and looked sideways at the girl from the shaman tribe. She moved her red lips and said to her, "Which elder of the shaman tribe are you a descendant of? Name?" Most of the girls in the sorcerer tribe were descendants of the sorcerer tribe elders. "I am Elder Wu Qing's granddaughter. My name is Wu Lin." The young witch girl, who was covered in wounds, bowed to Yun Jian and said, "All right, you can return to Yulong mainland now." Yun Jian said to Wu Lin, "Thank you, sorcerer goddess. I was accidentally brought to Earth. I didn't expect to be caught by them. Not only did they beat me, they even forced me to tell them the way to Yulong mainland. I didn't even tell them." Wu Lin looked up at Yun Jian and said proudly. She was proud because she did not betray the shaman tribe out of fear. She did not betray the sorcerer goddess either. After sending Wu Lin off, the ball was almost over. Yun Jian did not remove her mask halfway through. Other than Lin Qiui, Lung Yichen, and a few others, no one knew Yun Jian. At that moment, Yun Jian stood in the aisle and looked into Shen Wei's eyes. The person who harmed Shen Wei's son, Shen Xiaocheng, was the Lan family's master. Shen Wei asked Yun Jian to protect his daughter, Shen Bai, because he was afraid that the Lan family would turn against his daughter. Now that the Lan family was destroyed, Yun Jian did not need to promise to protect Shen Bai's daughter for another month. Shen Wei looked into Yun Jian's eyes. He thanked her first before speaking. "You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."